Alrighty. Of course, general stuff about I'm gonna hop on this live video and wait for people to get on, yada yada. But hi, how are you? Been a minute. Good to see you guys again. It's been since like November, maybe December. I'm at a weird angle or whatever right now because I'm going to show you guys a couple of things. It's been a while. Like the whole world has lost its mind since the last time I was on here talking to any of you. Hi Lucy, how are you? Yeah, so many things. I'm sure I'll kind of cover a couple of these things as I usually do, but of course, as with always with these, it'll be published in here on the channel, so you can go back and watch it later and catch up on what you missed, all that good stuff. Or if you're in the middle of dinner right now, my timing is horrible. If you're central in the US, it's like prime dinner time. But whatever, I'm here. Hi. Where to begin? First of all, I have fuzz on my chapstick. Fun. Okay. First of all, I'm going to say this. I have all kinds of things I'm going to cover, just from like personal stuff to also business stuff. None of it like particularly earth-shattering. So I don't want anybody to feel like, based on the description of this video that I put, that there's like anything they have to, there's not really any like huge news. I'm probably not talking about anything you don't already know about. But first off, I'm coming to you, granted, in a mild construction zone, medium construction, I would say at this point, from the sewing space. So if you guys have ever seen any of my old videos, do you remember the warehouse videos where I would show you guys new product and it was a little room and it was navy behind me and there would just be like walls of product, right? And I told you, I don't know, last year, 700 lifetimes ago, it seems like, I told you I was swapping spaces, right? Because the business had grown so much, my business, which by the way, if you're new here, Emporium Threads, that's me. It's my business, a sewing business that I sell sewing supplies. So anyway, I had this warehouse room with the navy blue walls everywhere behind me and then racks up to like the ceiling of product. And I ran out of room up here. When we moved into this house in 2020, we built this room that I'm in as my sewing room. I did not have this business that I now have. And when they framed this out and did all of it, unfortunately, they kind of screwed it up. This whole side of the house where this room is at the front of the house. And then it's like there's like a bathroom, my master closet, and then the master bedroom at the back. They were supposed to add extra space to this room. And instead they put it all in my master closet and my master bathroom, which is great, except for now they're like comically huge, which sounds like a complaint. It's not, but like, it's so goofy because they're comically large. Like the space where the toilet is like 5 feet wider than it needs to be. Like, it's just goofy. So anyway, this room is fine. It's a great normal sized bedroom. But with the layout, it's very difficult. So I say all of that to you because in this room, usable floor space to like put furniture ends up being about a queen size bed's worth, right? So like up here where this area that you're looking at, which I'll explain here in a minute, there's a door right here to get into the room and you have to walk over this way. And then that leads to the other wall. And that other wall is all windows, which is lovely, except for they go to the floor and you can't put anything there. And then on this side next to you guys, this wall of this room, like behind the camera, is a big closet, which is great, but it's got doors that swing out. So you have to leave room to get into the doors. So you can't use like that space either. So you get this like teeny corner and that's what you get. So that being said, this was my sewing space for a long time. Then I turned it into the business space. Then I moved the business space into the other side of the house, using up some other rooms. And we've just been doing that. I'm trying to like grow with things and as things go, but I spend more time shuffling stuff back and forth. Does that make sense? So I finally decided, look, this room, we move the business out of it. It's gonna be my sewing space and I am just gonna make it work. I'm gonna get creative. I'm gonna get ingenuitive and I'm just gonna make it work. So that's what I've been doing. And I've been very slowly working on that because any of y'all who know me, hi Tina, good to see you. Any of you guys who know me, we travel a lot, especially for shows. Last year we were on the move everywhere with you guys, doing show after show after show for the sewing business. It was super fun, but I was determined this year to stay home a little bit. I just had to, because what we were literally doing was coming home for like 3 weeks and then leaving for 2 weeks and then coming home for 3 weeks and leaving for 2. And we did that all last year. And if we weren't leaving for a show, we were leaving for like personal stuff. So it was our 10-year wedding anniversary last year in December. And my mother-in-law threw us a really spectacular, wonderful party for friends and family. And, we did that, but we went out to Arizona early to like help her with some stuff. And then, kind of stayed for holidays because it's in December. And, it's like one thing after the other. We kept accidentally adding things, and sort of opportunities would come up, and I'm like, oh, I don't want to miss out. And I never saw the inside of my house. Like, it was really fun, but it was really exhausting. So anyway, now that, this year, 2025, we did several shows in the beginning of the year, just got off the last one in March. And I've been asked a lot, how did your show go? How did your show go? So we came out and saw you guys in Phoenix, Arizona. And then we saw you in New Mexico, and then we saw you in Lakeland, Florida. So like January, February, and March. And now we're just staying home, like, for so many reasons, but even without all the extra craziness we're going to talk about in a bit, we're staying home a little bit, and it's been so nice. So anyway, back to this stuff behind me. You see like some painter's tape and stuff, and I have this camera on like a big stick thing in front of me, and I'm actually sitting here, on the floor, like on my knees, because I was going to sit down, and then I don't know what I'm doing. But basically I decided to make this very little room work for me. I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to have to get really creative. So I'm going to show you some of the things I'm using to get creative, and then, we'll go from there. So sorry for the motion sickness if it's tough for you guys. Oops. I'm going to move you for like a hot second, because I thought, oh, I'll sit down. You can see my very outgrown hair here. So, okay. Hopefully that's a bit of a better like view for some of this. So, okay. So what you're looking at is this little thing that doesn't stick out very far that I built with these panels, and it houses all of my like kind of electronical stuff. This room is both the hottest and the coldest room in the house. Like, it's either frigid in the winter and you have to boil the rest of the house to get this room to be passable, or you have to, in the summer, you're just seeing it a lot, but we live in Texas, it's hot. So I will preface this by saying I am so thankful I started this project the summer of last year. I started framing all of this, and if you follow me on Facebook, like personally, you saw this in my stories and were probably like, what is she doing? So there's, framing underneath here and all this, and I finally got the finish work done, and I still need to do trim work on my cubby, and I just, that trim work I just painted, and I painted it yesterday, so I need to remove the tape, but I still got to figure out this, and I spent, 10 hours yesterday filling nail holes, all the little teeny tiny nail holes you don't really see, which, by the way, DIYers out there, can I tell you, I tried something for the first time. I love these. They are filler sticks. So I'll like pull one out of here. It's a kit. I just got it online, and I'm using one of these sticks, so like I'll never use this one. It's a fill stick, but it's like a really thick crayon. It's not like a kid's crayon, it's like a thick crayon, but you just rub it on the hole that you need to fill, and then you just like scrape it off. And I promise you, I've been using it to fill like billions of little nail holes on here. You cannot see them. It's so easy and so nice and so clean. And if you drop a little bit of it, it's not wet like spackle or like plastic wood or any of that. I love these. I love them. And you get them in a kit like this. They're pretty cheap. And so it comes with like browns and reds, and you can mix them. And, there's whites and creams and grays. So obviously I've been using this one, and like, look, it's the perfect blend. And it just came in the kit. Like, you can't even see it. So anyway, I spent hours doing that yesterday. It's been crazy around here, and I'm trying to get the projects done. So this project, like I said, I started it last summer in August-ish, and I'm just now starting to get progress. Just got this stuff hung up and installed, but I bought that and it's just been sitting here rotting. And so it's a little electric, fireplace thing for some ambiance, and also for some, obvious warmth too, because you can run it with and without the heat. So, and then I want to turn your attention toward this little guy. I have 2 of these, so it's really hard to try to move you a little bit again. So the next thing I'm doing to get good space in here is, like I said, this is a walkway right here, and there's a door like 6 feet from here. So you have to leave room for the door to swing open, but I want some space to use stuff. Often when I'm sewing, I pull out my regular sewing machine, and then I pull out my cover stitch machine if I'm making like a garment, and you kind of got to go from like area to area instead of swapping the machines out. But by and large, the machines, excuse me, this isn't weird. I have bike shorts under this, like it's attached, but they're creeping on me. Anyway, okay. I got up off the floor and that was uncomfortable. Anyway, I'm distracting myself, sorry. By the way, those of you who've ever watched these videos before, I can A, I'm chatty, but B, I'm a little all over the place. We're going to touch on this more in depth in a few minutes, I promise, but I am on like every drug known to man right now for IVF stuff, and that includes like tons of hormones and all kinds of weird disruptor things. My brain is like cotton candy, worse than normal. I just forget what I'm saying. Half the time I'm talking to Corey lately, and he'll be like, you just started a sentence and said 4 words and just stopped talking. And I have no idea that I did it. And I'm like, okay, well, guess it wasn't important. Anyway. So I just distracted myself with the bike shorts thing, and now anyway, whatever. We're going to talk about these. Extra storage and extra workspace. That's what we wanted to talk about. So I can no longer afford kind of having extra tables, right, in this room, because right here where I am, this has to be clear as the walkway. And so over here I get 2 little areas, one of which is for my industrial machine, which that's on a 4x2 table, and it's attached to the table, so I can't do anything about that. And then I need another kind of deskish thing for cutting my domestic machines, embroidery machines, other things I'm using. So that being said, I haven't figured out what we're doing with that yet, but I did find these and I love them. I am 99.9% sure I got these on Amazon. They may have come from Wayfair or someplace like that. I bought them last year and I still haven't even put the second one together, and I barely put this one together. But I'm showing you this because I think these are so cool, and they were not terribly expensive. Now, they're definitely made in China, totally, or I think they're made in China, pretty sure. But they definitely came from somewhere overseas, so the price may have gone up, but they were really reasonable for what they were. So what you see down here is these little cubbies, and when it's all folded up, obviously it just sits like this. So I kind of plan to put some sewing stuff up here and maybe some shelves to kind of complete this. And this is a blackboard, which I do plan to put some art or something on because I'm not going to use a chalkboard, but I thought this would even cork in here and use it as a pinboard. But these shelves, this one is, the middle one is adjustable just by a little bit. And then what it does, it's a Murphy table. So it's just going to fold out like this. This comes out like this. And it literally has little locking mechanisms under here. And it's a table. Now, I am very tall. I wanted these to be taller. I'm a little bummed they weren't. They kind of feel maybe like they're for little kids, but I'm not small. I'm 5'11", so you can kind of see how tall these are next to me, and I'm very broad-shouldered. I'm not petite in any way, if you couldn't tell. And I think this will be great working space for pulling out the cover stitch machine. Sometimes I want to work on, I have a sewing project going on and I'm not feeling it. So I want to work on scrapbooking or painting or whatever. This is an opportunity to do that. And so when you uncover, pull this down, you have all this storage in here too, which I thought that's so great for what about all of my serger cones, right? Serger cones of thread that I don't use very often, or embroidery machine thread can go up in here, or, just other stuff that I don't use all the time, right? So I have 2 of these. I installed this one last night. It just installs right into the wall up here. And you know, would I like sit on this with my 200+ pound body? Absolutely not. But like, it's pretty sturdy. Like, I think I could sew on this and not have like a major problem, especially with a lighter cover stitch or serger. Like my big heavy Elna machine, that could be dicey. That machine is 45 pounds with nothing else like added. But I think it's a good working space. You can sit on this side or this side. This side I lose, you know, like 3 inches because of where this sucks in. But it was really easy to put in. Now I will tell you this, you either have to put framing behind it or cut your baseboard, because they did not allot for like a notch out for your baseboard and it won't sit flush. So I cut my baseboard off at the edge and then installed this and then just caulked the like baseboard, you know, and I need to actually finish the caulking, but that's what I'll be doing. So I just wanted to tell you about these because I think they are so cool. If you're interested at all, leave a comment on these and I will link them for you. Because I'm 99.9% sure it was Amazon, but I was looking a lot at Wayfair and other places. At the time I bought these, they were well under $200 for the whole thing and with shipping. But that was like last, I don't know, July, August, maybe September. I don't know. They've literally been sitting rotting in the box in this room, which is like pure construction. This is the cleanest point of this whole room, like right out of view everywhere. It's like sewing stuff in boxes, just tons of stuff. I'm going to show you in a minute. I have a ladder right here, an air compressor, because I'm still actively working on this. So anyway, my life is great, but a mess, chaotic. And again, because we weren't home at all last year, it just got worse. So to fold this up, that's all you do. It's a really simple latch mechanism under here. And then there's magnets that hold this. So that just magnets right on. And then that just holds it right up. And it's like so easy. And I thought, how good would this be for sewing stuff like books or knickknacks, whatever. I'm hopeful, touching on kind of the next thing we're going to lead into, that soon, A, this will be finished, but B, I can get back into filming at these shows that we were just at, Phoenix and New Mexico specifically, but I got a lot at Lakeland too. Actually, probably the most at Lakeland, honestly. Overwhelmingly, which was a very pleasant surprise to me. So many of you guys told me how much you missed my videos, which it's always nice to be missed. You know, everybody likes to be missed, I think. And I guess I didn't realize how, you know, I don't know. Content creation in general and like doing this, not that I am a content creator because I don't think that I am, and I'm definitely not that great at it, but doing this, whatever this is, right, online thing is weird because I realize there's a bunch of you on the other side of my phone in this case, but I'm alone in this room, right? And so it's weird because it's like it's not that I don't recognize that it makes a difference for a lot of you and you really enjoy my videos and all those things. It's just you kind of forget because you're by yourself, like while you're doing it and making it. And then it's not until you release the thing and you get comments afterward and then you're kind of interacting, but you're not interacting like I'm interacting right now. Right? Does that make sense? You're just typing a response into a box to a message you got. And you recognize the names most of the time. You know, I'm like, oh, it's Tina. Oh, it's Deanna. Oh, it's Kalisha. Like, oh, it's these people. Like, oh, I know them. But, you know, it's just weird. So anyway, I got a ton of people being like, why aren't you shooting videos? Are you ever going to shoot more videos? I've been waiting on you to do these bags. And my response is, A, yes, but B, like, I just didn't realize, and C, we were gone so much. And I don't think that a lot of people, I don't mean this in a bad way, but I don't think a lot of people realize how much of a process it is for an 1.5-hour video. For me, and the style of videos, not these live videos, of course, but what I call the studio quality videos, tutorials. I got to get the whole situation all cleaned up and get everything good because I don't want there to be distraction in the videos. And I got to get everything out that I need for the project, right? I have to practice the project typically, so I know like, oh, what am I doing? What were we, why did I want to make this video? And then, you get all of that set up, and you got to get yourself all set up. And then you got to, at least for me, I have to wait until I'm mentally in a space to film. Meaning I got decent sleep, and not just from being tired, but so that I'm like focused. And then just mentally, I don't have a lot of anxiety regarding filming, but I guess you could call it that. I'm just anxious. I just want it to be good. I'm putting in all that effort, and I want it to be enjoyable, right? So there's a method to my madness, but it's still a lot of method, right? Then you get to the actual filming. You film for me, because everything takes 4 times as long on film. It depends on the project, but if the end ends up being an hour and a half to 2 hours for you guys, that's 5 hours worth of filming for me. So I've got 5 hours worth of footage. And then I give that to my wonderful husband, who then edits all of it down. And I always tell him, you have like I feel like husband's dream job. You get to like mute and edit your wife. You get to he has to listen, but in real life, he has to listen to me too. And you don't get to like turn my voice off, or like turn the audio down and replace me with music, or like cut that whole chunk out and throw it away. But he really loves video editing. He took a lot of courses in that when he was younger, so he's very skilled in it. And all of the beautiful edits in the videos that I get compliments on, and the structure and like all that, thank him, which you guys do a lot. But that's all on him, because if it were me, you'd be getting like junky live videos. I am not a technology person. I'm not smart enough for any of that. So anyway, yeah, so filming, kind of back to that and tying into this, there's a reason. For one, I really want this room. I don't do well with clutter. When I have clutter around me, it clutters my mind, and it like just derails me in general. So I want this area, which I'm hoping in future you guys are going to be well acquainted with, at a different angle, of course, to be kind of the focal point of filming. Our old videos had like that nice white background that I had and all of that, but the lighting wasn't great. The lighting in this room is much better. The acoustics in this room are much better versus the other filming studio, which is now the business room. And so this room is everything that's going into it is very intentional, which is why it's taking me a while. Not just time and money, because I'm doing it all myself, but I want it to be clean. I want it to be a space where it's not filled with clutter, not a ton of like knickknacks and stuff, because there will be some of those. I don't want it impersonal, but I want it to be faster for me. I want it sort of pre-set up for filming. Does that make any sense? So when the mood strikes me, I don't have to spend a whole day picking up and moving things and swapping it. The lighting is just where it's going to be. And I have a place to stand where it's like, okay, the camera goes here, I go here, shoot a video, talk about a video. We have a nice, pleasant backdrop where everything is kind of neutral. And it's, aesthetically, it's clean and it's not chaotic, because that, for me, is not my vibe. So that being said, hopefully this wall in future, as I finish it up and clean it up, I still have some molding work to do, and I'm doing another one of these exactly on the other side, which I can kind of tilt you over here for a minute. Sorry, motion sickness warning. You can see my construction pile and all of my, there's an office chair under here. But the other Murphy desk thing is going to go there in that corner. And so there will be 2 of them in tandem. And so the hope is that I can kind of set them up with both of them like out here, and sort of have my chair in the middle and sort of like go here and then go here if I'm working on a project that needs that, right? Like serger, cover stitch when you're making a garment. But in the meantime, they will stay, folded up, be good storage, and they're really slim. Like this is only sticking out. This barely sticks out a foot. It's not quite a foot. It's like 11 inches. And I did that very intentionally, as opposed to buying furniture, because in my old room, I had this, not in great shape, painted over, cobbled together, like I don't know, this weird dresser I picked up like 100 years ago for $100. And I need to find somebody, by the way, to like love on it. So it needs to be stripped and like redone. It is an antique. I have no idea from when, but it's very quirky and interesting. And anyway, if you're in DFW, I have a dresser for you if you're a furniture flipper, and you can come pick it up and it can be yours for free 99 because I need it gone. But this thing sticks out from the wall like 36 inches. It's huge. And it was always my like craft supplies and like odds and ends, like, you know, clay stuff, scrapbooking, things you don't use very often, crochet stuff. And then the TV was above it. All this stuff, you know, was on it, but it's huge and I can't have that. And I couldn't find any skinny furniture. And even if I wall mounted this, where do you put all the equipment for it? So it's actually all behind this on the floor inside. And this only sticks out 11 inches. So I was like, okay, I can use that because this whole wall has like, this is the traverse space of the room, right? So anyway, this all has worked out really well, but it took a lot of engineering and planning, and I am no master craftsman. Like, I'm decent at DIY, but I'm just kind of making it up as I go, you know. This was a very challenging project, probably one of the most challenging I've ever done, just in terms of building. I've done framing and basic stuff before, but not like this. Framing out the cubby, like, this felt like playing 4D chess to me. This was very intense, but I am good with tactile things and taking multiple things and putting them together to make something, right? Which is why I'm not good at digital stuff, because I don't understand what that sorcery is. Like, I push 3 keys and that makes a thing on the screen. Like, what? So anyway, but this kind of stuff I can do. It's a lot of trial and error and a lot of frustration. I am definitely, I hate it. I used to not curse at all, ever. And I'm trying to get out of the habit because I definitely, a few years back now, probably 5 or so, fell into the habit of like lalochesia or whatever, where like when you kind of curse under your breath or whatever, it like gives you relief. And then it led to me having like a terrible mouth. And so then I started cussing like a sailor, and, you know, not all the time, just too much for my liking. And I'm like, you know, I have a better vocabulary than that. I need to not. But it just feels so good sometimes. So anyway, I'm trying to work on that, but there's a lot of cursing going on when I was working on this, and I figured it out. But like, that was a toughie a little bit. So anyway, I've been working on this in passing, but this last week and a half, 2 weeks, I really got like some time to dig into the meat of it, and I am so happy with the progress. Like I said, I just got that trim up. When I tell you that I hate doing trim, if you've ever done trim in your life, like crown molding, just any kind of trim, is the worst. It's the absolute worst. I don't know what the sewing equivalent to trim is, because I've never it's so horrible. I need to touch on this. This is going to be cathartic for me. I just need to vent about it. So I'm going to put you up toward the ceiling just so you see how this is. Okay, this is a barn ceiling in this room. Oh, and now it's like falling. Okay, it stopped. This is a barn ceiling. So there's a weird little angle there, and then a flat wall and another angle up at the top of the ceiling. And so to do this, essentially like crown, whatever, top molding, the thick one, you guys, none of those are 90-degree angles. The corner is a 90-degree angle, but then the side angle over here to go, like, that trim is not straight. It's going down at an angle, and it has to meet at another angle. I am not exaggerating when I tell you that I spent all day yesterday doing that trim. The bottom trim is just regular 90s. And I was like, oh, I wanted to do 2 of those, by the way, this little halo. There's supposed to be 2. And I'm debating if I want to do the second one because I am so traumatized from that trim. The last time I did trim work to this degree was in my laundry room 2 houses ago, like 10 years ago. I put up a backsplash in like a little corner, and there was no wall on either side of it. It was just like one cabinet in a 90-degree corner, and I had 2 little backsplashes, and trying to get the trim, it was like shiplap. So I did wood trim around the edges. Oh my gosh, I still remember how horrific that project was and how much I hated the angles, and I ended up cheating in the end and just cutting it all off. and just jamming it all in. And I was like, caulking will hide it. And in the end, it looked great. And years later, we sold the house and they were like, my favorite feature is the laundry room. So nobody knew. But oh my God. I've done a lot of projects. This one, though, just touching on a quick personal thing. So let me just show you this. Okay, this is like horrible. Look at my awful fingernails. None of them are square. They're all broken off. And I don't mean this to say like as a diva. I'm covered in like spackling, and I'm covered in oil-based paint bits and pieces. Like there's remnants of it because I keep trying to scrub it. It's not showing up great on camera, but in person, I look like I look like a DIYer. Like I look like I've been on a construction site. Every one of these nails is also broken, like down the middle. So the stuff on top is like cracked. It's not good. But I'm trying to get through the projects and not do my nails. So anyway, I bring up the oil paint because on the other side of this door is my foyer, the front door, and my front door is horrible. It's so bad. When the builders did it, we moved in 2020. The door's 5 years old, almost 6 this year. And they put some sort of oil-based stain on it, but it wasn't sealed right and it wasn't done right. And it dripped everywhere. So the door is like, it looks like slime, like goo. It's been horrible. It's not good. But then it turned white from like midpoint down from sun, and it got really cloudy. Well, it's a black door, only on half though. It was so bad. So I spent the week in between working on this whenever it would frustrate me too much to going out there and sanding and stripping. And when I tell you guys, I did all the prep work. You know how they say on a DIY project, the prep work matters? I sunk my heart into this. I was like, I can get this door back to being beautiful. I'm going to take this terrible stain off. And I put like the citrus strip gel on it and covered it in plastic. And then I spent a whole day scraping it off with a putty knife. And then I sanded it with like 150 grit. And then I did 200. And then I did 220. And then I wood filled all the little gaps. And then I resanded it. I spent whole days doing this prep work. And then I went to Sherwin-Williams and I told the man what happened to the door, and I said, what paint do you recommend? And here's my paint color. It's a Sherwin-Williams color. What do you recommend? And he gave me this oil-based paint, which I've never used before. And it went on very smoothly and nice, but I did not know, and no one told me, first of all, citrus strip to strip stuff, it works really well, but it's the devil. It doesn't self-neutralize, it just keeps going. So then I had to get mineral spirits and scrub the door off, which then had gooey mineral spirit stuff all over the place. And then I had to power wash the door, and that's after scraping it. I didn't want to spend this much money on this project. I was just trying to make my house look nicer. And I was like, I should take care of my house. Like, it's my house and that's important. And I could spend, $50 getting a little can of paint and a couple supplies, the citrus strip, Well, I also didn't know that citrus strip destroys everything around it, not just paint and lacquer. So it destroyed my fancy door lock. It destroyed all the trim around the door, even though I didn't put any on that. And that stuff like travels. I don't know. It also destroyed my metal door handle. So I had to buy all new of all of those. And that's been a whole saga. So still haven't found a door handle that fits the holes drilled in our door, which seems bizarre, right? Because it's just like a Schlage lock, but none of them fit. That's a whole thing. So my side quest project of the door, which should have been very easy, ended up being the worst, and it's still in progress. I put the first coat of the oil paint on it today, and let me tell you, it looks so bad. It looks, outside of the cloudy whiteness, it looks worse than when I started. I did all that sanding in the nooks and crannies, and I really did the prep work, and it looks so bad. I'm trying to trust the process. The oil paint's not drying. If you didn't know this, oil-based paint takes between 21 and 28 days to cure. I didn't know that. So I finally just said, screw it, and closed the door, and I'm just going to replace the weather stripping anyway, and it's just going to be gooey on the edge because it's hot out and there's bugs everywhere and I can't leave the door open for 28 days. And yeah, so anyway, I put on one coat. It's kind of dry, kind of not. I very gingerly put the old, the deadbolt thing is in there, but there's no handle on my door. We just shoved a towel in it. Whatever, it's fine. But I tell you all of that because that project is probably the easiest project I've ever done in my life. I have tiled whole homes. I've done demolition. I've built walls. I've taken out walls. I have done minor drywall. I don't do major drywall, but I've done wall trim, crown molding, backsplashes, tons, obviously painting, electrical stuff. I've done all of that. Plumbing. I've replaced toilets, taken old ones out, sinks, whole kitchen demolitions and redos. This is just painting a door, and it should not be taking me out like this, and I am very sad about it. So anyway, that's my little cathartic piece on that and this trim. And with that being said, I was already very proud of this, but I am so much more proud of it now because let me tell you, I thought this was the challenge. Like this was a flat wall before. If y'all remember my previous videos, when I would stand there, this right here is where all the handmade webbing used to be. There was like a half painted navy wall that I ran out of paint, so we just never painted it. And all the handmade webbing was on a rack right here. And next to it was the zipper pulls and all of the woven tags. And over here was the laser, right? So if you remember those videos, that's what this was. And on the wall opposite of me was where all the vinyls were. The hardware on this side and all the vinyls on this side. So I did a thing. And I'm still doing the thing, but it's turning out so much better than this door. So the door was my side quest to have something to work on between while something was drying. And now I'm very sad and I have a sticky door and I spent so much more money and it's not going to happen now. Not in this economy, that's for sure. But I'm going to live with it. And eventually maybe the door will stop being sticky and tacky. The internet says 21 to 28 days to cure because, again, I didn't know this. Oil-based paint does not air dry. It doesn't need air to dry. It oxidizes, kind of like rust. So it just needs oxygen exposure to dry and cure. And there's nothing really that can do that except for decent ventilation, which it's outside. And I live in the windiest town in the world. And sunlight helps, warm temps help, which I have in abundance. So anyway, blah. I'm very annoyed by that. And now I'm feeling a little bit of a sense of like, I need to reprove myself that like I don't suck at DIY because this was just painting a door. But I think that door it doesn't even seal well. Like this was a cosmetic fix. It needs a lot of other fixes. But I was like, I don't need to spend that kind of money. Like, that's okay. Like, I don't want the door to end up in the landfill. It's a solid wood door. Like, all these reasonings in my head. And now I just spent a ton of time and money. Like, why? I was trying to do a thing. Anyway, so that's why I'm covered in stuff. Earlier when I went to come on here, I had plasterwood all over in my hair that fell out after I was filling some other areas on the door, and I'm glad I saw it because I was like, let me go brush that out real quick. But I'm a mess. I'm covered in calluses and paint residue and then bruises. That's fun. So swapping topics a little bit, and we'll go back to I guess some of this stuff too. It's been a minute since we've talked about the IVF stuff, and a lot of you are asking me at the shows, which is totally fine to do. Like, please do. I don't mind. Oh gosh, where to begin with that? So let me first say I'm not pregnant, not currently, and I don't. This is a situation where it's kind of like no news, I guess, isn't good news. It's just no news. In November, we went through our very first transfer. We did retrieval prior to that, and I do think I spoke about this a little bit in October. Pretty sure. We went through retrieval, which means where they go in and they get your eggs and then they, fertilize them and see what's going on. So we did all of that, and that was a very roller coastery experience for multiple reasons that I just wasn't prepared for. That I gotta be honest, I don't think they really prepare you well for that. They talk about the same topics, right? Key points. But nobody prepared me for one, the biggest thing, the drop off. So if you are fertile, which I will preface this by saying right now, for anyone who doesn't know, our issue is undiagnosed infertility. On paper, everything about me, fertility-wise, is perfect, spot on, and every doctor for years and years, we've been at this for 10, but we just started IVF, but we've had all the tests, we've done all the things, and they're like, there's no reason you shouldn't be pregnant. You'll be pregnant by Christmas. You'll be pregnant by Easter. You're going to celebrate Mother's Day this year. They say that all the time. Never happened, obviously. And then they would scratch their heads and be like, well, we don't know. Well, we don't know. We're not sure. There's no issues with my husband. There's no issues with me. And on paper, everything is fine. And obviously at that point, we were fitter, younger, all of the things, which should have made it easier for us to conceive. But we still had these issues. We just could not. To my knowledge, I have, TMI, but this is the portion of this that's this. I've never missed a period in my life. I got my period when I was 13 years old, like on the dot, like a textbook, like what they told you in health class. And there was nothing necessarily abnormal about it. I did have a lot of cramps. I've always had pretty intense periods, but not so intense like what I see people describing with like PCOS or like endometriosis, but borderline, I would say. They're definitely more intense than everyone I've ever known, especially when I was a kid. So that being said, I got checked for those things as much as I could, and they would just say, oh, take Tylenol, you'll be fine. I'm like, okay. Never once thought there'd be an issue with my fertility later down the road. And again, on paper, I'm still in that same boat. All of my hormone levels, like everything checks out. Everything is right where it needs to be, and not only like where it needs to be, but like perfect. And so this has been an ongoing struggle because nobody understands what's going on. Least of all me, but like these educated doctors, and like nobody gets it. So we finally just said, okay, look, we're getting too old for this. I can't keep making decisions about my life based on like, ooh, should we not move to that state because it doesn't have a great, family environment, but it'd be great for us. Should I not buy that car because it'd be really fun for me, but like not responsible if I had a kid, And I've been living my life like that always. I'm pretty pragmatic and I'm pretty logical, typically. When it comes to making big decisions. So like, I don't want to buy the house that isn't going to be good for multiple uses. I don't want to buy the car that pigeonholes me into like this thing, and now all of a sudden I've got a baby in a, front seat of a convertible or something. Like I'm not that type of person. So I keep making these decisions, but like, it's not really what I want to do. You know what I mean? I do want to buy the 2-seater car. I do want to try living in the high-rise condo. Like I do, maybe not now, but I did. I did want to do these things, and then I didn't because I kept going, no, we're going to have a kid any day. We're going to have a kid. We need to settle down for family life, And, anyway, so we just said, we gotta like do this. We gotta throw everything we can at it. And if it doesn't work, then we know for sure. But, we've been trying, we've been under the, advice of doctors and things, and we've tried other stuff. We've done IUI, we've done like, monitored intercourse and guided intercourse and all these other things that they do with you and other medications. But this is like we're solving for pretty much all of the unknown variables that we can. That being said, I don't know if you guys are aware of what's going on in the economy right now. Terrible time to be doing that. Absolutely terrifying for so many reasons. I don't really want to get into exactly here, but like all of the stuff that's going on, totally affecting this entire process on multiple levels. So it affects treatment because I live in Texas, which is a pretty restrictive state in some ways. And so there are like laws passing, then pausing, then going into effect, then whatever. And it's such a headache. And then all the tariff stuff, because I don't know if you guys know this, but most of our medications are not made in the United States, especially the cheaper versions, generic medications and all that kind of stuff. So IVF was already not cheap, and it has really caused a lot of issues. So on a personal note, on that specific topic, that's been terrifying. And I don't know if you know this, but stress is really bad for fertility. It's really bad for IVF. So anyway, all that to say, we went through retrieval in, I think it was October now, and I might be getting some of these dates wrong, y'all. It's, again, being on these meds makes me really cloudy, but also I feel like I've lived like 100 years in the last I don't know, 80 days, 75, like 90 days maybe. I don't know. Because it's just been a lot for travel and then just everything. The world in general, our personal world, the world outside of it, adding the IVF stuff in, it's been a lot. So, anyway, we went through the retrieval stuff in, I think it was October, like late October. Maybe it was August or September. I don't know. I don't remember. I'm sorry. It was like fallish. And we did our first transfer, which means they take one of the embryos that has survived and all that, and they transfer it into you and hope for, a pregnancy. And so that did not work, unfortunately. And we don't know why, because again, on paper, everything, it was like, nope, all the stuff is here and we've got you on all the beds and we've been doing all the things. And we did all the things lab-wise that we could do to ensure that these embryos were, the prime candidates. There are some things that you can do to avoid additional possibility of miscarriage, I guess, like out front. So we did that at extra expense, but we just thought we've come this far, let's just do it. And so that's kind of been how we've been treating this the whole time. Well, it didn't work. And our doctor was like, honestly, I'm shocked that it didn't work. And, my response was kind of like, are you really? Because I'm not going to say I wasn't shocked. I was shocked, I guess, but also in the 10 years that we've been married, plus all the countless years we were together before that as teenagers, and again, kind of TMI, I guess, getting personal, but I've never once been on birth control. We were careful as teenagers, but like, we were not that careful. So I'm looking at all of that time and going, I've never once missed a period in my life. You could set a clock by it, like literally. And so to my knowledge, I have never been pregnant. I've never been even a day late for a period, let alone 3 or 4 weeks, and then kind of had, and those are the signs that they say, well, that might have been, you might have been pregnant and you might have, lost it early on or whatever. But I've never missed a period by a day. So I'm like, I've never been able to get pregnant, but you guys tell me I got all the stuff and it's all perfect. So why doesn't it work? And I don't know, that's just where we're at. So that being said, we did just go through another transfer. This time around, my doctor's protocol was like, look, man, if you really want to give this your all, let's just do that. And what she said was basically what they're calling the kitchen sink protocol. We're going to throw literally everything at you to try to figure out, what we can do, what's going to work. And so part of that, I have so many pills that I take, you guys. You're already taking a lot. Normal IVF, and I say normal, but there's kind of different levels of normal. It depends on what your issue is. But me, given that I don't have any issues, I'm on the kind of base level protocol for IVF. So what you do leading up to a transfer, which is when they put one of the embryos in, is you are taking, what do you take? You take estrogen pills, different dosages at different times and all of that, and they tell you as you go through the month. And what that does is it helps you to develop uterine lining, but it also stops you from naturally ovulating. And they want you to not naturally ovulate because they're putting something in you, right? And they don't want you to have a litter of children. So it does 2 things. But it also makes you gain a ton of weight, and it also makes you typically pretty moody, and it also causes like restless leg syndrome for a lot of people, myself included, which is like awful. That's probably the worst side effect, I gotta be honest. I will say this, and I'm sure my husband would answer this differently. I don't think I'm particularly moody, okay? Oddly enough, I handled it way better than I thought I would. I thought I was going to be like all over the place, right? Like puppies were going to make me cry and like, just all kinds of stuff. That's not it, but it has definitely, I've seen a shift in my temperament, maybe is the best way to put it. My patience, I tend to be the type of person normally where my patience is a long, slow burning fuse, right? And it takes a really long time to like get there, but when it gets there, and I mean a really long time. We're talking about like simmering about stuff for like days and months. And I'll let it go with a specific person, situation, thing, whatever. I try to like block it out, push it down, make excuses, whitewash everything, rose-colored glasses, whatever, and then I'll just explode. So what that has changed into is more of like this weird weary meltdown kind of thing, and then there's like tons of crying, which up until a couple of years ago I was never a crier ever. So I think, just on a slightly separate note, for those of you who've kind of followed along for a while and maybe know what some of those things were, I think I just kind of awakened like a whole lifetime of never feeling feelings. And then now everything makes me, not everything, but I end up crying a lot more. And so now that's been a weird thing. It doesn't happen all the time. I thought it would be happening all the time, but it's just like once a month, and it'll be a really dumb thing that sets me off. But then it's like everything is awful and terrible, and I don't know. So anyway, now after the first time with that, now I know, and I'm able to like temper that. And I know it's coming, and I kind of know like, ooh, you're probably just overreacting. You should take a step back. Like you should probably just, and so anyway, but I thought that was going to be the worst thing. The worst thing for sure is the brain fog and the restless leg thing. Like some nights I lay down to go to sleep and it's like, I don't know how to explain it. It's like your legs and feet, like it's your feet, not your hands. But like, imagine if your toes and feet just kind of kept like you felt the need to constantly stretch. And no matter how much you do it, it just like doesn't help. And you're laying there trying to go to sleep and you're like, oh, please just stop. Like, I'm so tired. But yet you're like arching your feet and like curling your toes and like doing ankle rolls and kind of like, it's not involuntary, but it's almost involuntary. And it's so annoying. And I also did not know this, but, and I wish someone had told me. So this is my PSA to you. Anybody who was at the October event, specifically Gabby and Jade and Jess and Lynn's from Lynn's Handmade and Amy C from So Bestie. We were all out and talking and whatever, and I don't know which all of you were around for this, but and then some of y'all who were visiting the booth and stuff talked to me about this, but the toaster bath thoughts. I don't mean to make light of suicide in any way, but that's what I was referring to them as. I did not realize, and no one told me, that taking high amounts of estrogen can cause you to have like suicidal ideation, like just weird thoughts. And all October, let me see, it was leading up to that transfer. So I think I was coming down off of the retrieval medicine, maybe, I don't remember, but you have to take estrogen either way. So I was taking massive amounts of estrogen and other drugs too. And I kept just having these weird thoughts. And initially, I didn't know what they were. I kind of have a little bit of a dark soul anyway, but not like that. And I just kept having weird thoughts. Like, for instance, I would be making macaroni and cheese. Okay, that's fine. That's normal. And I would just, weird thoughts would just start creeping into my head. I'm like stirring the mac and cheese, and I would think like, gosh, like this is really like cheesy. Gosh, that sauce is really thick. What if you were eating this and you choked on it? Well, there are probably worse ways to die. Like death by macaroni and cheese doesn't sound so bad, and then that stream of consciousness would just continue, but then it would get a lot darker. And then it would kind of turn into like these weird, like, well, if I died, like, and I have a dark sense of humor. So then I would be like, gosh, I hope they serve mac and cheese at my funeral. Like it would just get weird. And then I would just sit down and eat my macaroni and cheese and it would be fine. And I didn't even think about it, but it had been going on for weeks and I didn't put it together. I just thought my mind was being like fanciful and kind of weird. And then it got worse and then it got worse and worse. And then that's what I say about like the toaster bath thoughts, like just weird things like that. And it just kept going. So by the time I saw you guys in October, I was full blown in like the middle of those while I was there at that event. And I had finally figured out what was going on. I had Googled like my medication symptoms and trying to figure out what was causing this. Cause I thought this is not normal for me. Like I don't wake up like this, twisted. And this maybe isn't okay. Like, I don't know what's going on. So it can exacerbate like like those types of thought, it brings them out anyway. But if you already have kind of a dark sense of humor, dark thoughts, whatever, it can make it a lot worse. Now, I don't struggle specifically with like clinical depression, but if I did, holy cow, and nobody told me, oh, by the way, you're going to be taking all this estrogen, watch out for this. Like, I had no clue. So my PSA to you, and just putting this out there in the verse in general, I hope I learned you something today, because I didn't know. I had no clue. And that really caught me off guard. So now I know, and I'm able to kind of like laugh that off a little bit and just be like, wow, whatever. It's one of those like weird things. But I mean, like, I would just be driving and I would just have weird thoughts, you know, which I don't know if any of y'all have ever had those before. I think that's pretty relatively normal anyway, what they call psychotic fantasies, where like, I don't know, you'll be like chopping vegetables with a knife and then you start thinking something weird about the knife, you know. That's relatively normal, but this, it would run on for too long. Like, it was too intense. And then I was having weird dreams and it, you know, just became a thing. So luckily that's not been too bad. I know how to like mitigate that now. I'm definitely like, oh, let's go outside and touch some grass. Let's read a book. Like, let's go get some sunshine. So it's been weird. Like, these are the things nobody prepared me for. They talk to you about the financials of it, how expensive it is. It is. They talk to you about the emotions of it. It is emotional. They talk to you about the weight gain, the physical, like, oh, your hair might fall out, your skin might be bad, it might be better. Nobody talks to you about the rest of this stuff. So, you know, I don't know, man. I don't know. So, just so you know, just so you're aware. So, hold on. I'm reading some of these little comments here. I don't know how to answer this question. Danny, if you're still on here, I don't know how to answer this question. She says, and I don't know at what point this popped up, sorry. She says, I also remember the kick you got in the ring of the pit of your stomach. Can you tell me what it feels like and how weak your stomach is? I don't know what that's pertaining to, but in regards to me, I actually don't have a very weak stomach. So I don't know if I would have ever gotten that. I don't typically have a very weak stomach. I'm trying to think if I've ever felt anything really like that. Ring in my stomach, huh? I don't know. Expound on that, Danny, if you're still around on the chat, because I don't know how to answer that one. I'm sorry. Anyway, and then Krista said, hi, she just got here. Hello, Miss Krista. Always good to see you. Anyway, so the IVF saga, it's just been a lot. So in addition to the normal drugs, the estradiol, which you're taking, it fluctuates. And of course, at first you start off the month at like a little bit, and then as it goes, they like increase a whole bunch of it. So that's a thing. And so, you know, not that looks are everything, but like I have gained a lot of weight. Just since starting all of this with retrieval and then going through 2 transfers and all of these drugs, I have gained like almost 15 pounds somewhere, like depends on the day, 10 to 15 depending on the day. Oh my God, the bloating, the water retention, like I've just given up at this point. It is what it is. My doctor's like, how are you doing? And I'm like, well, you know, I feel it. My body feels it for sure. But I'm kind of like, if I can get pregnant, I'm going to be gaining a whole lot more weight than that. So I guess I'm not that concerned. I mean, I don't love it. I don't think anybody really loves that. But, you know, it's just vanity. Trying not to be vain about it. I'm trying to keep my eye on the prize. Trying to keep myself distracted with shenanigans. And yeah, so you know, but yes, I am very overweight at this point. I'm like, my poor body is just like, we're tired, please stop. I have a very large frame for the most part, so I'm doing pretty okay with the distribution and like the handling of it, but I can tell like my knees hurt, my back hurts. Some of that could be joint side effects of some of this medication, because it does give you joint aches. So I'm sure it's a lot of things. Like a lot of my clothing doesn't fit though, which I don't love. So I'm kind of just living my whole life in like my most comfy athleisure wear. I'm also covered in bruises. I touched on that earlier because you take shots a lot for IVF. So I've been doing, in addition to the estradiol, you do the estrogen, oh gosh, like half the month. And then the second half of the month, you you're still taking the estrogen, and then you start introducing progesterone, which is a shot. And it's called progesterone in sesame oil, and that's exactly what it sounds like. It's the consistency of a very thick oil, and you inject that and you put it right into this whole area of your back. And you just keep doing that. And this is for transfers only. You do it for retrieval as well, but it's different, different meds, different all that. But every day you got to do a shot. So we start here and then we go here and then we go here and we go here and here and here and here. Well, every single time it hurts. The shots themselves are not horrible, but they bruise and then they're tender and they hurt and you start to run out of space because you got to do this like every day for a month. You only got so much back area, and you got to stay in that same spot. So it's like you start after like 7 or 8 days, you kind of run out of room. So that's fun. In addition, this time, that's your basic meds. They have also added on top of an over-the-counter protocol for me. So it's, as far as I can tell, it kind of seems like you're sort of taking a over-the-counter drug for everything that could possibly annoy your body. So they've got me on an antihistamine, Zyrtec. They've got me on Pepcid AC, just so that any overproduction of acid in general in your body will stop. And that both of those things will help to not interfere with pregnancy not, going. They've got me on a baby aspirin to thin my blood to help with clots. They've got me on prednisone, which is a steroid. They have got me on thyroid medication, which I already take anyway. And then what else? Estrogen. And there's like 2 other pills. They're all sitting on a line in my counter because I literally can't remember what they all are. There's something else. Whatever. I don't know. It's over the counter things. The prednisone is not. Some of them are prescription, some of them are not. And then the shots in addition to. And I take those kind of multiple times throughout the day. I take them all in the morning and then some only at night and shots at night. And in addition to those other shots I just told you about, they have me on a blood thinner shot too. It's not heparin, but it's heparin adjacent. I forget. It's like, I always want to say Novalox, which is, I'm pretty sure, like a bagel from somewhere that has like salmon on it, but that's close to the name. It's like, gosh, I don't remember, an enoxaparin, something like that. And it's a blood thinner shot. And so of course those are particularly gruesome. They do burn, they hurt a lot. I take those every day. And the hope with all of those things is like, hopefully we can stop your body from doing all the things it's not supposed to be doing to let this transfer go. The general consensus is probably that maybe this never works for me, even though I'm good on paper, because my body is like, no, thank you, immediately, and is like, get out, go away. And so my immune system will flare up in some way to stop this, which is the idea with like the acids and the antihistamines and all these things. And then the prescription stuff on top of it. So in addition to all of that, we decided to do immunoglobulin infusions. IVIG is what that's called. Oh my God, they are so expensive. Literally because basically our thought is, A, we want this to work. But B, we have spent a retrieval cycle just to get to hopefully get embryos. They're not even embryos at that point. They're just eggs. To get those is like $25,000. And that doesn't include all of the testing and all the stuff that goes up to it. And that doesn't include most of your medications. It'll include some. And then from there's extra stuff you have to do on top of it, which we did. So we ended up spending like 28 to 30 for ours. And that's a lot. And what we ended up with in the end, after everything, after the fallout, after just everything, we ended up with 3 viable embryos, which I'll just be very blunt and honest with you. Only one of which was what they called the best quality. That was the first one we used and it didn't take. So now we're left with 2 that were okay grades, but they took longer to grow to that stage. Like for various reasons, they're not considered as good, but I'm assured that these embryo style, this one works well a lot. So we're going to see. It's what I've got. And so, my thought was, if this doesn't work, we have to go through another retrieval. And I'd really rather this just worked for like a lot of reasons. So it would be cheaper to try this infusion and see if it will work. And if we get something, and if we don't, then we know. The way we kind of worked, typically when you get these infusions, it's because something showed up on a test. I have had those tests multiple times and it's never shown up for me. But fertility is a very understudied area. It is. Once you get into this, you start to realize, like in my mind, the first time I went to a clinic and I was like, I'm just going to show all the doctor all the things and give him my blood and give him whatever samples, and they're going to be able to tell me everything. No, they know like this much. And if you don't fall within this much of that window, there's like this whole area that's like not studied. They don't know, they can't tell, they don't have ways of telling. And if you fall into that part, like, yeah. So, some rough stats for you, which they've been changing. It used to be 1 in 7 couples suffered from infertility. Now it's more like 1 in 5 or 1 in 4, depending on what study you look at. And then within that 1 to 5, 1 to 4, like 25% of those couples will be diagnosed with undiagnosed infertility, meaning on paper, everything's perfect and there's no reason this shouldn't work. And every test you take is great. And so we fall into that category. So anyway, I just thought, yeah, it's really expensive. The infusions are $5,000 a piece, $5,180.86 to be exact, none of which is covered by insurance. But I just thought, if we can get this to work, then I don't have to do any more retrievals. So, because after this one, if it doesn't work, then we're back in that territory of, do we give up or do we try retrieval again? So for the last, since November, I've been doing like greens, smoothie, like it's smoothie, it's not juicing. But I have added that into my diet. So it's like just Greek yogurt, frozen fruit, and greens powder that's like all full of nutrients and whatever, and tons more vitamins. And I've just been trying to fill some nutritional gaps. And I'm doing literally everything I can. But I decided, let's try the infusion. So I had my first infusion on Wednesday, and I had a transfer on Thursday. So the idea behind the immunoglobulin transfer, infusion, is that, and I'm a little hazy on this, but it's supposed to both hamper your immune system, but also help it. There are different treatments of why this is given, I guess. One of which is that if you are the type of person who suffers from the issue of when you get to a specific point of your pregnancy, typically it's early on, your body will sense that and it will treat the fetus as a foreign object and it will attack it. Your immune system will. And so getting these types of infusions will stop your body from doing that. But on the other side of the spectrum, the nurse who was doing my infusion told me that a lot of people are just deficient in immunoglobulin, which is a product of your plasma in your body. So, and I said, well, how do you get deficient in that? And she said a lot of it is genetic, and a lot of people don't know they're deficient. But when you get diagnosed with a like critical disease, a super infectious disease, a rare or like hefty cancer, things like that, when they do testing, that's when they'll find out that you are deficient. And it's a pretty big rate of people who are deficient. And they don't really know why. But they can give you immunoglobulin, which is derived from other people's plasma. So you can get these infusions, and that's why they're so expensive. It literally has to be made from other humans. So for people who donate plasma, thank you, because I was able to utilize that and have this immunoglobulin derived from that. And I had, what was it, like 30, whatever, I don't know, 3 of these bottles. I don't know if that was ounces or, I think it's ounces, 30 ounces. That seems maybe about right. It was probably the equivalent of like a big bottle of soda, but like maybe a little more. I don't know. Anyway, I was there for 4 hours. It takes a long time to get those infusions. So if this transfer works, I will have to receive those infusions every 3 to 4 weeks at $5,000 a piece. So I'm not really sure how we're going to handle that because We don't have that kind of money, but we just thought, if we can even get this to work, like that'll give us some kind of a clue. And we're just gonna have to figure out how to continue on with them. But that being said, I touched on this a little bit earlier, the tariff situation, which we're going to talk about business stuff here in a moment. I did not obviously anticipate, I don't think anybody necessarily anticipated what's going on currently. I don't know. It's been a lot, and it does affect the cost of medication. Like I said earlier, it affects the cost of literally everything. Because start just looking at random stuff around your house, like everything, food, chemicals, toilet paper. We don't manufacture a lot here, and we don't manufacture a lot as far as, really a lot of stuff. And there's a lot of reasons for that, many reasons. All kinds of them across the gambit that's way too much to cover here, but it does affect a lot of things, and it has affected this IVF situation. So that's added extra stress. And then of course there's the financial thing. I don't think I need to tell you guys about the crazy amounts of inflation, and just everything that's already going on. This has made it, not great. And as a small business owner, I will be completely transparent about this. In fact, almost every one of my manufacturers is overseas. Not because I really prefer it that way. Generally, I don't have a preference, but I love to do anything I can on this side, because I don't want to wait for it. But not only was it not cost prohibitive, it was cost prohibitive to do some things here, but I couldn't find people. So I've started looking into some of this stuff and why. Like, I want to start doing this stuff in-house myself. I'll just have to buy the machinery. I'll just have to do whatever to get this. And I can't even buy it because a lot of these things are not allowed here. And I'm going, great, so I can't print fabric here. And it's like, nope, not with our EPA standards. And it's highly toxic. And you can't even get the, types of inks and all these things. Like, you can't even get it here, even if you had the equipment. Like, it's a whole thing. And I'm like, okay, no wonder I couldn't find people. When I was searching for a thread manufacturer, I have my own brand of thread, and it's manufactured for me. Could not find. There were 2 companies here in the United States, and I couldn't even get them to call me back. One was in New Jersey and one was in Florida. And when I did finally kind of get a hold of somebody and talk, like, they were just so disinterested in my business. And I'm like, I can meet your MOQs. Like, I just want to buy stuff. They had no interest. And they were just incredibly difficult, but then couldn't even do what I wanted for like my custom variegated threads. So I was just like, okay, well, they could, they just didn't want to. So I went overseas. I mean, it's so frustrating. I do have several vendors and people that I source stuff from that's here, but I can almost guarantee you they're not manufacturing the stuff that I get from them in the United States. I pretty much know they're not. So there's like a ripple situation here. And it's just, it just is what it is. I don't think anyone anticipated how far-reaching this was going to be tariff-wise. So, I guess let's have a little. I'm going to sit because I already talked about all this stuff behind me. If you're just joining in, looks like Hollow Bag Creations jumped on. Hello, and I saw Andrea. Somebody popped up earlier. Anyway, you can always. This will be published later, and you can go back and. We covered a lot of things, and we'll continue to cover them. Sorry, I should have given you a motion sickness warning. Oops. I'm going to sit on the floor for 2 reasons. Hopefully this is a decent vantage point. Well, that's not great. You're a little high. Whatever. Oh, well. Let me see. What if Okay, one more time I'm going to try to move this. Is that better? I think that's going to be better. Okay, let's try that. I don't have to worry about up the skirt shots because there's shorts attached to the bottom of this, so nobody think you're getting anything tawdry. Anyway, we'll circle into some business stuff now because I have so many business things to catch up with you guys on. Gosh, where were we? Sorry, this is the medication fog situation where I'm like, what am I doing? Talking about tariff stuff. So everybody is going to do the best that they can. When I say everybody, I mean like small shops, businesses, big and large, frankly. Everybody's going to do the best that they can, I hope, for me and my part. Here's how things are going to go for me, with me, I should say. I hope it goes this way for me, but I don't plan to go anywhere. So I will tell you that right now. This is a storm that I am going to do my best long term to get through. And how I work typically, I touched on this earlier, I'm a pretty logical, try to plan ahead kind of person. And so anything that I can do today for tomorrow, I'm all about doing. And that being said, that's a major factor in my business and how I run things. So if you don't know me or you've never shopped with me or whatever, I guess I'll touch on some of that too. I sell sewing supplies. I would say 75%, maybe more like 65 at this point, of which are imported. Many of those items that are imported are made custom for me. They are actually exclusive. They belong to me. They were designed by me. I sought out a manufacturer and had those things made for me. That requires much more money. It requires a lot higher of an MOQ, which stands for minimum order quantity. There's kind of two ways that you can order stuff from any manufacturer. You can either order from their catalog, which are things that they sort of just have generic, like polka dots or stripes or whatever. And then you can do custom, and you can, depending on who the manufacturer is or what you're having done, you can say, I want to give you a Pantone color or a CMYK color combination, and I want this exact shade of green or this exact shade of pink, or I want this custom art printed on it, okay? And when you do that, two things happen. One, the price goes up exponentially, typically. And the amount you have to order goes up as well. Reason being, it's more risk to that business and it deviates from their typical standard practices. So they have to stop what they're doing typically in churning out, and they have to do this special thing for you. And so you have to pay for that, which, great. But, that adds a lot. One of the reasons you see a lot of shops doing pre-orders, myself included, but it's rare. I think I've done 2 total pre-orders my entire business. I don't plan to do really hardly any more. I try not to begin with, for lots of reasons. We'll get into that in a moment. But one of the reasons you see a lot of shops doing pre-orders is because the shop, let's just do some basic napkin math here. Let's say I want to get a custom product made, whatever that is, and it's going to cost me $5,000. Well, instead of me spending $5,000 of my own money from my pocket or my business's pocket or whatever, I can come out to you guys and I can say, hey, who wants to pre-order XYZ product? And if you want it, great, you'll have to wait for it, but I'll give you, sometimes there's no discount at all. Sometimes the only advantage to doing it is that you get to pick what you're receiving, right? It depends on what product. But generally what's happening there is the business is saying, I don't want to foot the bill for this product. It has a really high MOQ. Let's say, again, just napkin math, 1,000 yards. And I'm afraid if I bring in 1,000 yards, I won't be able to sell it. Okay. So if I make people pre-buy it, it's already spoken for. And then if my MOQ is 1,000 yards and I've already sold 600 of it before it ever even arrives here to me, and 600 yards of it is paid for, then I can get my pre-order to pay for this entire order. Now that's the ethical version of that, okay? Here's where things start to get less than gray. I mean, it starts to get very unethical. I'll put it that way. And you guys have seen a lot of this in the community recently, and I'm going to tell you right now, you're probably going to see more of it soon. This is my warning to you, be very careful. And I don't care how well you know that shop or person, because if anything the last few years has been taught to me, it's that you don't know anybody, and they can change, and they will change, and you never know what is going to change them. If it's, power and money tend to be the 2 biggest ones, but sometimes it's also distress or just them being hurt by somebody else, whatever, but it does make people change. And it changes their, their modus operandi, for better or for worse. And then you're left wondering, were they always like this or did they just turn into this? But the bottom line is you end up getting screwed in the process. And so this is my warning to you, because this is where things, especially with pre-orders and shops like this, start to get gray. First of all, as a business owner, okay, I'm a small business owner, really small comparatively. There's no one here to police me but me. The only other policing I have, or accountability that I'm going to have to, the only way I'm going to have to account for anything that I do is if somebody else holds me responsible. Okay. So either I have to hold myself responsible, and that's where my morals and ethics come in as a person. And I'm policing myself, or if a business is doing something untoward, or inappropriate or unethical or whatever, you have to call it out. And you do. I'm sorry, but that's how that works, because there's no boss here for you to come complain to. I'm the boss. And if I want to do unethical things and you're going to email me about it and be like, hey, stop doing those unethical things. Well, if I'm already doing unethical things, $20 says I'm not going to care. Okay. And I say me as in like the, in the general ether of all of this, that is not how I operate. So in talking about all this with pre-orders and the tariffs and all these things, I believe that most shops are going to do their best to mitigate these issues. But I also fervently believe that there are going to be people out here who are going to use it to try to take advantage of others. Truly. I just really, really do. I can think of some specific people that I'm going to keep to myself, but they are well-known people in this community, and the clock is going to run up on the things that they've been already doing and getting called out for. I don't understand how this is possible, but they end up closing up their shops and then opening another one like 3 weeks later under a different name and there's been a bunch of people doing that kind of stuff. And it's like, you literally just screwed over a ton of people for thousands of dollars, and you're here in this same community being like, hey, come buy other stuff from me. Like, whatever. Can't tell people how to spend their money. But I will just say that be careful. Not everything that you hear about, like the tariffs and all that stuff, is necessarily true. There are definitely people out there who are going to try to exploit this chaos. It's already confusing. It's already chaotic, and they have no pounce on that, right? And trying to like take advantage of your confusion and of your uncertainty, and just the general uncertainty of this whole situation. So be really careful, just in general. Trust your gut. And I will say this, better safe than sorry, in general. There is nothing that I sell or that any of these shops sell that you need to live. Okay? We don't sell insulin, right? Like, I love sewing and I love my business and I love my customers. I love what I do, but I don't sell anything that you need to live. You need food to live. You need medicine to live. You need shelter. Every one of us, all of these shops, we sell wants. They are not needs. And so I do not want you to be swayed into this, like, we live in America, man. It's the land of the consumer. And I get that. But, like, there are ways to go about this and keep your small shops, keep being a patron of them, keep supporting them, keep doing all these things without putting yourself in a situation of getting taken advantage of. Okay? So I just want you, that's my like general warning about this. The tariffs are bad. 90% of what is imported from all of our shops, not just mine, all of these shops, they're selling, bag hardware, custom or not. They're selling, like vinyls, especially like textured ones and stuff like that. It's all coming from overseas. Promise you. Nobody does that here. It's just not a big market for us in the US, I say. Because you have to understand, if all the furniture is made over there, well, why would they be importing stuff from here? Like, that's why everything went over there. When we started having appliances made over there, guess what? All the stuff inside the appliances started getting made over there too. Because it's just easier for them to literally have it all in one city. I kid you not. There are like manufacturing districts for like garments and furniture and appliances and auto parts and clean chip factories and just and TV components and speaker stuff and cell phone things. It's like broken up into regions. And that's why it's all made over there, because the major items are made over there, and it costs too much to try to transport it from one place to another and then transport it back to sell it. So same thing with handbags. 90% of those bags that you buy at the store, the Michael Kors, the Juicy Couture, the whoever, random brands from Target or Walmart, they're made in China. They're sometimes made in other places, but a lot of them are made in China, or somewhere overseas in general. And all of this stuff to make that bag, the stabilizer, the vinyl, the faux leather, whatever, the hardware, it's already over there. So the same manufacturer that I use for my hardware, I happen to know does a lot of the major couture brand hardware, for like major bag companies, major ones, like not quite high fashion, but like medium high fashion. It's good stuff, which is why I go to them, and that's why you pay what you pay for my stuff, and that's why all of my stuff is always top quality. But there's a reason for that, for the price. That being said, there's nobody that makes that stuff in the United States, and I know because I looked very hard, and not in this size of a collection, not in this availability, not in all of these fancy, rose gold and light gold and brushed antique and rainbow and all that. It doesn't exist here. So not only does that not exist, but everything else doesn't exist. It's just hard. My personal feelings on this are that I do not believe that all of these tariffs are going to cause anybody to bring manufacturing of that type of stuff over here, because no one's making furniture over here. No one's making handbags over here. Nobody's making that kind of stuff here. And I don't think that they will, personally. Not on a large scale, not large enough to open factories here to then have the stuff to manufacture. Does that make sense? Because we don't have whole districts of furniture, whatever. We don't have whole districts, whole chunks of the country devoted to, sewing garments or whatever. We used to a long time ago, but the world has changed drastically. Doesn't mean it can't change, but is it going to change in the next 3 to 5 years? Not quickly. Somebody is going to have to pony up millions of dollars to open a factory to make, whatever thing, bras, okay? To make the wires and the clasps and all the things and the materials and the foam that all go into the bras. And then they're going to have a shop of people to make the bras with all of those items. You know what I mean? And that's just bras. So it's going to be a tremendous uphill battle. I don't know what's going to happen, but I know what is happening, and what is happening currently is there's kind of a giant standstill for small business. I can't talk to you about other businesses necessarily on a low level, but from a high level, I can talk to you about this kind of stuff. And then I can speak about me personally. So me personally, I try to plan outside of all of this, just on a normal, regular Tuesday. I try to plan for future. Okay. So, when I bring in hardware, I bring in a lot of it. I do that on my own dime, right? The business's dime. I am slow compared to other shops, not on fulfillment time, but on bringing in new things. Why? Because I believe in slow organic growth. I don't believe in running my whole business off of pre-orders for multiple reasons, but the biggest one is that it's very risky, and personally it tends to end up being unethical. We'll talk about that in a minute. But I won't do that, which means I have less money to play with, but it also means that I'm a pretty safe bet. It means that because I have to bring in what I need to bring in and what I have lots of things in hand, right? So for the time being, you're going to start to see some stuff go out of stock. I know it because I already need to reorder some things and I'm running low, hardware especially wise, but I have a ton of it here. When I say ton of it, I literally mean pallets worth. When I bring it in, I bring it in. I only work with that one manufacturer, like I said, for all of my metal and pseudo metal bits, so it all matches. But in doing that, to get what I want and the quality that I want, I have to bring in a lot. So when it gets delivered, it's literally on pallets. And that means I have a lot of hardware that sits around for a long time. It means I tie up a lot of my own money in inventory. But again, it also means that I can be depended on, typically. I still run out, just like everybody. And I happen to be at a point right now where I'm running out of a couple of key pieces. And that really stinks because I need to reorder them. And if I can't in the next month or so, that's when you're going to start to see out of stock on the website a ton all across the board. So we're going to figure that out. It doesn't mean I'm going to go anywhere. It just means I might not have hardware for a bit, and I'll be able to deal with that. But, my number one priorities are making sure that I can sort of fulfill promises that I make. That makes sense. So I talked a little bit just a while ago about pre-orders often ending up being unethical. So here's why that happens. The first time around, so let me backtrack and say this. I can't speak to everyone, but I know, and you know, so you're able to identify what you're seeing. I've run, I believe it's 2 total pre-orders in like just slightly over 5 years I've been in business, okay? And the only reason I have done that is not for financial. It's not a situation of, I don't want to pay for it. It's a situation of when it's for my weddings, which are exclusive to me. I know a lot of people want to order like 50 and 100 yards of black. I get that a lot. And I only ever offer that kind of stuff in pre-order. And so I offer pre-order. I offer a discount at pre-order when you buy in bulk. So if you're buying like over 10 yards, you get a small price off per yard. It's not much, but it's something. And then you're able to order what you want. If I just ordered my MOQs of this stuff, specifically in like black, blush, gray, a couple other colors maybe, I'd be out before I ever even had any for retail. And my MOQs on this stuff are high, by the way. Don't be fooled. That stuff also arrives on a pallet. Like filling my entire 2-car garage full. So don't be fooled. It's a lot of webbing. But people are really jazzed about some of these colors, and they really like the handmade webbing, which I love. But I offer pre-order for that reason, because it's so hard to, and I did a pre-order a couple months back now, maybe, I guess it was delivered and shipped out delivered in December, shipped out in January kind of a thing. I'm already out of black. I'm out, and I have to bring that in by thousands of yards. That's how fast I sold it. So, and I even offered pre-order for those people so they could order a lot of bulk, but that's how quickly I go through it. So that's wonderful and great, but that's why I do pre-order, but it's rare. So a lot of times I just reorder colors in the background and I don't do a pre-order at all. And there's 2 reasons for that. So one, whenever I do a pre-order, please understand, I've already paid for it. I don't wait for the money to come rolling in and then pay for it, which is what happens with a lot of pre-orders. They are not prepaid for, because that business just can't shoulder that burden of the expense. And while I understand that, that in and of itself is not ethical, and it's not a good way of running business, because what ends up happening is you end up eventually coming into sort of a Ponzi scheme situation, or sort of the good term for it is robbing Peter to pay Paul. If you've never heard that term or understand what it means taking money from one thing to pay for something else, and then you kind of have to keep leapfrogging like that over and over again. And that too often is what ends up happening with a lot of these businesses. It ends up happening with a lot of event businesses as well. One particular event business that we just saw implode last year had that exact problem going on. Pre-selling tickets for an event that's a year out to pay for that event, and then not being able to sell enough tickets, not being able to follow through on the contracts, not being able to, but have already signed things. Basically, the money is spent before the event ever goes off, like well in advance, like a year or more in advance. And that's a problem. And oftentimes that 2025 event, I'm going to put on tickets for my 2025 event, buy them now for 2025 in 2024, but that money I'm bringing in is actually going back to pay for 24 that I just had, or possibly 23. And the real term for all of that is insolvency. And that's a problem for lots of reasons. And so that's why I say be really careful with all this tariff stuff and, getting taken advantage of. especially with a lot of these companies that are coming out now and saying, you know, about their pre-orders. I have seen a lot of them that I do support that have always run themselves in an above board way, saying, guys, I've capped my pre-order, I've stopped it, I've canceled it, I've refunded, I've either paid for it out of my own money, and, you know, when it gets here, we're going to go forward, etc., etc. And that's the proper way to do it. Whenever I do a pre-order, here's what happens with me. And by the way, it's going to be the same with my subscription box, which we're going to talk about in a minute here. When I have done a pre-order ever, what ends up happening is I buy the merchandise. I already kind of know what I'm going to end up getting. I do very large order quantities, so I kind of know, like, I've got enough. If I need more, I can get more. And that'll be like more for myself, or if I just have like so many people, and so much yardage coming in for some of this, but I pre-buy what I know I'm going to need. And extra typically. And I pay for that. I pay for it before you ever place a transaction for an order on a pre-order. Okay. What does end up happening is you come on and you say, I want 5 yards, or I want 20 yards, or whatever you want. And then I earmark that for you. So when all of my stuff comes in, I know, hey, like, I've got enough to meet this, whatever. What happens when you give me money at that point for that pre-order is it all goes into a separate account. It is a separate bank account. That's also why it's a separate website. I have my regular website and I have a pre-order website, and they are very distant from each other, and there's a reason for that. Anytime you place money with me on product that I don't instantly deliver, so if that's a pre-order or it is my latest subscription endeavor that we'll talk about, A Year in Flowers, that money essentially goes into escrow. It goes somewhere else where it's not touched. I don't use it to pay for future things. And that way, if anything goes wrong, or I should say future things, or I do use it for future things once your product's been delivered. But I don't use it to pay off like other debts. I don't use it to take new pre-orders. I don't use it to do any of that. I put the money in a separate account and it's held. And that way, if anything should happen between you paying me and me delivering and giving you the goods you paid for, I have a way to refund you because you paid me money for a good, or, you know, not services, but goods typically, and you deserve to get your goods. And if you don't get the thing that you paid for and I can't make that right, then I need to make you whole. Okay? Like an ethical business, an ethical person in general, none of that money belongs to me until you get what you paid for. Okay? Simple as. So there's no debate about that. There shouldn't be. There is a lot of people who try to do mental gymnastics to pretend like, oh, I'm doing some great extra special thing for you. And I gotta tell you, as a small business owner, that's not true. It's just not. You're helping that business by pre-ordering, and maybe you're helping yourself because you're getting a benefit, but they're just helping themselves to your money. And if they're not keeping it in a separate account in escrow on the side, that's a problem. And here's how you know they're not doing that. This is when it turns into you're waiting 2 years for a pre-order. This is when it turns into you're waiting and getting jacked around and pushed around and past your PayPal limit. This is when they're taking 5 new pre-orders but still haven't delivered on the old pre-orders that they're still working on. No business, in my opinion, should ever be doing another pre-order before they have delivered the last one, period. I don't care how big the business is, unless they're a giant Amazon-sized corporation. There is just zero reason for that, frankly. There just isn't. Turnaround times on this kind of stuff tend to be fairly quick. Now, you know, when I say quick, I mean in terms of what I normally deal with, a couple of months at most. And that's to get it from the manufacturer, from the point you pay, and to getting it out. They don't want to keep it, and they don't want to keep your money, typically, if they're an ethical business. They want to get it out, man. They got 1 million orders, and these factories over there are huge. They want it out. So there's no such thing as a manufacturer if they're ethical at all. And by the way, it's the duty of the business that you're buying from to make sure they're working with ethical suppliers. And so, you know, if they're not, that also falls on them. They need to be working with companies that they've vetted, companies that they trust, companies that they have researched and backed up, that like, hey, they fulfill their times correctly, they take care of me so I can take care of my customers. What ends up happening is you get a lot of these shops that they see, hey, there can be money made in this. I gotta tell ya, it's not a ton. If there's somebody out there who's becoming a millionaire over this, like, I mean, they're not. Something is going on. It kind of makes me think of the terms, like when someone says, nobody gets that rich without something sneaky going on in the background almost. I don't mean that to like accuse anybody, but on a really high level, if there's a company out there that's just making tons of money hand over fist, doing anything like this in this space, it's, you know, there's something not great going on there. You know, not in all cases, but in some of them. So just keep that in mind, because if they're working with less than savory manufacturers who are kind of turn them and burn them and not taking care of stuff, and they're just kind of churning out junk, that's a big part of it. It's sort of like fast fashion for the sewing industry, almost, if you think of it that way. It's not top quality goods. It's not really good quality stuff. And it's more like, you know, a turn 'em and burn 'em operation, which is great if that's what they want to do. But, you know, again, just, I guess, be aware of what you pay for and who you're paying, and making sure that they're taking care of you. Because at the end of the day, what happens with a lot of these shops is they just see, ooh, if I do pre-orders, I can get thousands of dollars really quickly. And then I'll use that to leapfrog into something else before I ever pay for this. And then they just keep doing this with sources they haven't vetted, with non-reputable, you know, manufacturers. They kind of do end up getting jacked around a little bit, but it's their own fault. And then they pass that on to you. They just shrug and go, well, it's not my problem. The manufacturer did it. Oh, well, it's not my problem because, you know, they're screwing me around. And it's like, no, this is your problem. This is your business. I paid you. I don't need to know about the minutia of all the rest of that stuff. It's your problem. I paid you and you owe me money, or you owe me product. And that's true. Period. Plain and simple. So when we start to get into the ethical situation of this, when I say that it often ends up not being ethical, it's because these shops get in the habit of, oh, well, I'll just do a pre-order and I'll get, you know, however big their audience is, you know, lots of money instantly, and then I can spend that on other stuff. And if I get the product in pretty quick before this pre-order and whatever, I can sell that and I can make more money. But it doesn't work that way, typically. You can get lucky and try to do that, but it's risky. And what you're doing is you're basically making your customer assume the risk for your business risks, which is not ethical. You're playing with money that doesn't belong to you. And so in my case, I don't ever do that. Any money that comes to me goes into escrow when it's pre-order, or even for the subscription box. And speaking about that, it is something I've been working on, and I am excited about it. It did just hit its cap, so I'm very excited about that, because I wasn't really expecting to do that, to be honest with you. So the subscription box. First of all, let me say, in regards to all this tariff stuff and whatever, for the time being, I did try to plan ahead, but I will tell you, I didn't plan ahead great, because I wasn't anticipating that many subscribers. I guess it's a good problem for me, but I was like, oh, if I get like this many, like that'll be okay. And that was well under this like cap that I set, right? Because I was like, this is like the big goal, but I'm never going to hit that, and I'm sure I won't hit it immediately. And that's like pipe dream numbers. So I had this like little goal, and I pre-ordered a bunch of stuff for all of that to have it here. So a lot of it is made in-house, but I do need like hardware and other things. And so I said, well, I'll just order enough for like this many, because I'm sure that's how many people I'm going to get. And if I have a few more, then that's fine. Well, great problem for me. But there was a lot of interest, and I guess I underestimated the enthusiasm, which I think happens a lot for me. I've said that phrase a lot in the past few years. I underestimate the enthusiasm, and It's a good problem to have. And once again, in the way that I run the business in general, is just better safe than sorry, right? I don't want to bite off more than I can chew. I don't play with other people's money. I don't ever want to be in a situation where I can't sleep at night because I feel like I did something unethical or untoward, especially to customers and people who are trying to support my business and other small shops. Because it's not lost on me that 90% of you out there are not just hobby sewists. You are sewing to sell. And so I know that. So like it weighs on me very heavily all the time to know like I need to get the orders out quick because people are expecting these items. They need them for a deadline. They need them for a gift. They just want them, whatever. But also they paid for it. So it belongs to them. So as long as I have your money and then I have your goods too, like that's an unfair dynamic at that point. I shouldn't have both. If you paid me, I need to get your order out. I want it gone. And I want it to you because that's what I owe you. So that's why I'm so eager to fulfill orders. This last week it was slacking a little bit. So if you just placed an order, sorry, it was due to all the IVF stuff. I was in outpatient surgery and I was chasing doctors and going to these infusion appointments and doing all this stuff. And it was a very hectic week. And Thursday and Friday is Thursday afternoon, and then Fridays when I started working on all this, and then today. So anyway, but yeah, I was kind of down for the count for a lot of the days, and then preoccupied and busy. Like I said, that infusion took 4 hours, plus it was an hour travel time each way. So anywho, long days. But I try my best to get orders out and do, it's sort of a weird business formulation of the golden rule almost, with like extra clauses. I know how I want to be treated when I order stuff from companies, and I know how I like my packages to arrive, and I know kind of what I value, so I pass that on to my customers and in my business practices. And I don't want anyone to ever worry about my integrity and how I operate my business and what you're paying me for. And if you're going to get what you paid for, it doesn't mean I don't make mistakes, but they're not purposeful mistakes. I'm not taking your money and, doing stuff with it that I shouldn't be, you know what I mean? I'm not playing with your money. Where your money goes in this business is it gets rolled back into this business. I take occasional small payouts at this point, but I still don't take a regular paycheck. I can't quite afford to. And I do have a part-time employee. She's a 20-year-old college student. I pay her $20 an hour, and she works for me 3 days a week from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. And that's where the majority of your money goes, actually. She's the only person to get a paycheck. I like to do fun new things with the business and do fun in-house stuff. And I've been working a lot on vertical integration, which means instead of outsourcing something, I bring it internal. I invest in the learning of how to do that thing, the machinery to do that thing, and then I spend the money there so that the money just gets rolled back into the business, and then I have an asset on my hands. So, and then you try to make the best of that asset for your business. So that's where the majority of your money goes. And with that being said, I do have some new things on the horizon. I understand that buying is going to be down because of this economy, and I understand that things are going to be crazy and tricky and weird for a while, but it's going to be a slow burn for me. Like I said, I don't plan to go anywhere. Everyone who has paid for the subscription box, whether you're a monthly or you are a yearly subscriber, which gotta say, I underestimated the enthusiasm on that as well. I understand why you did that, but I was very shocked to see how many yearly subscribers I ended up grabbing, which in my opinion is the better way to go, but I understand it's expensive. But boxes end up being cheaper, and you get bonus items for being an annual subscriber. So you guys will start to see this as the box arrives, and I'm not going to give out too much, but obviously we have, I refer to the subscribers as blossoms because it's this specific subscription is AYIF, a year in flowers. I did that for multiple reasons. For one, well, let's roll back just a little bit. If you were around in November, you may or may not have remembered the craziness. It's in 2 other videos, so you can go explore that situation with what I'm going to refer to as the blue thread lady. Okay, so the crazy blue thread lady, who, for better or for worse, just, I mean, let's be honest, let's call a spade a spade. She tried to take advantage of my business when she got called out on that, which I have to say, I unintentionally, I talked about it on YouTube because I was really frustrated with what was going on, and I just felt like there needs to be some accountability here. And just like I said at the beginning of this, there's no one here to police me as the small business person. My accountability comes from myself first, which is huge to me. But if I start acting in a way that's untoward, you need to, you know what I mean? Like, if I don't hold myself accountable, who's going to? So somebody has to. So this was one of those situations where I said, fine, I'm going to hold her accountable because I tried doing it privately with her and it's not working. So I'm just going to be public about it, and maybe that'll be enough to light a fire under her, which it was. But at the same time, it shed a lot of light on a lot of other unethical and inappropriate practices that she was doing. And it led to a whole unveiling of lots of stuff, including people from her own team coming to me and saying, wow, thank you for sharing those emails, because everything she's been telling us on the background about this whole situation, she lied about, like, flat out. She never told us any of this. So you reading those emails verbatim was very eye-opening to me. And there was a lot of other stuff there too with other vendors and other things. So anyway, when that happened, what was going on is I was sending out what I referred to as curated boxes. And I don't remember if I came up with that name or who did, but they just started being called the curated boxes. And after that small business, or, well, she's not even really a business, she's just a group owner, I guess, a Facebook group owner. After she attempted to basically swindle me, I mean, I don't really have a better way of saying that, but that's what it was. A lot of people came out in support, including a lot of you guys, which I definitely credit to, you know, again, the masses kind of holding her accountable, which is hugely important, because it lets people know, hey, you can't get away with this kind of stuff. So thank you for that. But the curated boxes, I decided, you know what, I still want to do something nice and I want to send out curated boxes. So instead of, I sent a lot to her team, and I did my part in it, even though frankly I shouldn't have, after what she did, but whatever. And the people who got them enjoyed them. But I ended up sending out boxes to some of my own subscribers as like a thank you, and just trying to make, you know, lemonade out of a lemon situation. And it ended up being wonderful. The people who won them were random, like it was a random drawing, and they found the right people, if that sort of makes any sense. There were so many people who won and told me privately, like, I needed this because, or like, this comes at a really great time because, or like, thank you so much for this because, and they kind of had like a story. And I really truly believe the right people found, you know, got these boxes, and that felt really, really good. So that being said, I had a lot of interest in the curated boxes. People were like, how can I buy a box? And I'm like, oh, well, they weren't for sale. Like, this is just something I made up. Like, I just put a bunch of stuff that I sell together that kind of matched and was cool. And sorry, but like, I can tell you what it is and you can put it in your own cart, which people weren't, I mean, they weren't hesitant about, but they weren't jazzed about. It didn't have the same feeling, right? And people were like, well, what if you did a mystery box? Like, what if you just made some of these? And I'm like, oh, I don't know about that. And then we had the October event with So Bestie in Orlando, and a lot of people were really jazzed about the mystery boxes I did there, which were not curated in any way. It was just stuff. It was like stuff from my own stash a little bit, like fabrics and zipper tapes, and then I don't know, there was all kinds of stuff in there, right? And it was just stuff, sewing stuff. But people loved them. And so I got this overwhelming amount of messages and feedback of like, do a box. And I really didn't, it took me a while to wrap my head around it. Since October and then November after, I was really thinking about it. And I was like, how do I kind of give the people what they want, right? Like, they're asking me, so how do I do the thing? And so literally since that time, more so in November after the Blue Thread Lady situation, but even in October, I was thinking about this and I've been mapping it out. So since then, I have been working on this. I have literal storyboards, okay, that I made for each month, and I have all the different like finishes and colors and all the things, and I've, you know, curated literally this entire situation. And it doesn't mean that there isn't room for flexibility, because there is, but I thought, okay, you know, what am I gonna do with this? How am I gonna do it? And I thought, you know, not everybody, but lots of people are doing subscription boxes, right? And I thought, I don't want to do the same thing. I want it to be different. And so I thought, well, you know, what have I liked about subscription boxes? What did I not like? What would I like to see? And that's kind of, I mean, that's how I run my whole business, right? So I just, same thing. I went with, you know, my gut and my instinct on this. I did consult some other people, namely Lindsay from Lynn's Handmade. So if you are familiar with Lindsay at all, you know, she's a wonderful pattern writer. She's very talented. She's, you know, obviously a multifaceted individual like we all are, but she tends to stick to her wheelhouse, which is designing wonderful patterns. And I thought, you know, that's what I need. Okay, at the base of this. I can do all the rest of it all day long, but I am not gifted in that way. I haven't really tried, I'll be honest. I have some prototypes of items that I'd really like to turn into patterns for you guys. But I struggle with that a little bit. I am tactile in the way that I built this. I can take all these things and put them together in a way that they look correct. They look the way I want. It functions in the way I want. And I know how I did that, but explaining it to someone else in writing, it's different than a tutorial. It's just hard. It's difficult. So I'm like, oh my gosh, I have a tote bag pattern that I've been working on for a long time. I have a couple of makeup bag and makeup accessory things I've been working on for a long time. I have a couple of other little bag accessory patterns I've been working on forever. You've never heard hide nor hair of any of it from me. The one pattern I've ever released was my pincushion ottoman. And it's still available, but I just struggle. So I'm like, you know what? I don't have time to, I'll dedicate some time to it and then I'll move away. Cause I'm like, I can't sit in this forever. It's like quicksand. You just get sucked up. So I try to utilize my time better, but, someday, maybe this year, I don't know. So anywho, that was how this started. I thought, who am I going to go with? Who can I trust? Who has good patterns with good resources that provides good support for the patterns? And that's where Lindsay comes in, because I do truly believe, one, I love that she doesn't have like any qualms about somebody making their own with her pattern because I gotta tell you, I am that person that I'm like, oh, I'm gonna upsize it and take all this out and add this thing. And she's like, rock on, it looks amazing. Like, she does not get offended. I mean, maybe secretly, but publicly, she's like, do it, get it, like, it looks great. And I have taught my hacks in classes, and she is like total cheerleader about it. Like, she's fine with it. And so I like that. I like that she's totally fine with material substitutions. There are a lot of pattern designers out there who, like, if you choose to do something that they like didn't say, frankly, some of them get like a little nasty. And I don't want any of that. And I wanted someone who was easy to work with, who gives, you know, a good solid pattern. And I don't have to worry about, gee, is this pattern going to be full of errors and cause a headache for everyone and be, you know, awful. And at the end of the day, what I sought to do with the subscription, here's how I view a subscription. You're like pre-buying a gift for yourself. Okay, whether it's a hot chocolate thing, a wine thing, a sewing thing, bubble bath, whatever. There's a subscription for everything, I swear. And I kind of liken it to like, well, I can go to the grocery store and buy my own hot chocolate, right? Of course I can. But if I really enjoy hot chocolate and I just want some to show up at my door and I don't have the time to think about it and somebody else can do the work for me, like, that's a nice little gift to myself. And in times such as these, a little gift to yourself, like, honestly, I hesitate, this is probably a strong thing, but a little gift to yourself, something that just brings you joy and pleasure and takes all the pain points out, is a good mental health thing. It's a good distraction. It's just nice. And so if that's whatever that is for you, you should find one of those. And if it's a subscription and like, hey man, more power to you. But if it's just going outside and drinking a glass of water in the sun and touching some grass, hey, very few things in life are still free. So take advantage. And I am guessing that a lot of other people felt that same way about subscriptions because the enthusiasm was a lot. which is great. I'm so happy about that. But in talking about planning and planning ahead, so I nailed down the situation with the patterns, got Linds's, permission. We talked about this a little bit, and I said, can I feature you in this box, in this subscription? It's going to be really highly curated. There's all kinds of rules. I had a whole contract for her to sign and deal with. It's like a real official thing. And so we did all that. We ironed everything out, and then I set to work literally curating each one of these bags. So this isn't just like I picked out, somewhat matching materials or whatever. It's really very highly curated, starting at the top with the art and the art styles. I had a whole bunch of them, and then I narrowed it down, and then I narrowed it down, and I narrowed it down more and more until I got the meat of what is the subscription. And again, I just thought, what is the subscription? I want it to bring joy. I want it to be pleasurable. I want it to be nice. I want it to be nice feeling when you open it, from the time you touch the box on the outside to the time you open it, to everything in it. I tried to take care of all of the things that kind of suck, right? As best I can, with the machine and stuff that I have, or machines, I should say. So many of you know I've been printing vinyl in-house now for since about October-ish, somewhere around in there. And it's going really well. I love it. I am having a lot of fun with that. I'm slow to roll out a lot of designs, I realize, and I'm sorry. I'm a little picky about my art. I don't want like a lot of little kid stuff. That said, it's hard finding ethically licensed. It's not hard, it's just more time consuming. I refuse to use AI, so that's one of the things right there. I will not use it. And a lot of artists are starting to say like, oh, this is my art. And then you go and look and it's actually AI generated, and they generated it, but it's AI generated. And it's really frustrating. I can't tell you how many files I've gotten, or like drives I've licensed with creators and stuff, and then found like past the point of 2024, it was full of AI art. And so that has been very frustrating. So I try my best not to release any of that. We actually had one sneak through a while back, which funnily enough was one of our most popular prints. It was a floral on the website. And then one day I was looking at it and I was like, why does this flower kind of have like a weird thing? And then I got to looking at it and I was like, oh, this is AI. And I went and looked at the file, and sure enough, it's AI. So I made a promise to you guys that I would never use AI art, and I try really hard not to, but some of these artists are not honest about it. So that's difficult. So that kind of limits me sometimes on what I am choosing to offer and all of that. But that being said, it's really important to me to support actual artists, and if it's not my own art, which some of it is, but if I had to do all my own art, you guys would get 3 designs a year. Like I don't have time to draw, and I'm slow. So that being said, I'm happy to support other artists, but it's difficult. I do have a bunch of new stuff. In fact, I have some new stuff sitting over here next to me that we'll talk about in a minute after I finish up with the subscription stuff. But that being said, I narrowed down all my art. I got all my art together, and from there I curated that art on a specific bag, and then I went in there with all the little details, and then I figured out just all the little minutia. And like I said, I made actual storyboards for all of this stuff, and I'm really excited to see it play out. And the biggest thing for me about subscriptions in general is just ending up with a bunch of stuff that I can't use together. Like I end up with tons of stuff, and I didn't love that. So in a major way, A Year in Flowers is different in lots of ways, but that's one of the biggest ones. Is at the end of the full year, if you stay for the full year, you get all of these kind of individual capsules, so you get to use the stuff together. So it ends up being like a personal accessory or 2 personal accessories and a major bag kind of a thing, and they all match. And as each month unfolds and you get a new box, you're getting a new pattern for sure. Or I should say a different project pattern. It may not be new to you, but you're getting different art. You're getting different, there's little differences each time. And so it's like, oh, what floral pattern are we going to see this time? Or in some of the accessory months, you'll get multiple projects in that box, and that'll be your introduction to like, oh, this accessory caps off this capsule we did 3 months ago, but I've never seen this art before. Is it going to show up again later? Am I going to see it on a different bag? So that's really fun. I told Lindsay I'm terrible at keeping secrets. I think most of you know that. I don't like to keep secrets in really any way, shape, or form. It's hard for me because I feel like I'm being like a gatekeeper, or like I'm being dishonest by keeping secrets. And I love this because I get to tell her, so then it's like not really a secret anymore. And that makes me feel better about it. So I don't feel the need to like spill all the beans all the time about it. But anyway, I'm really excited. I'm super grateful for the amount of people who showed up, and I'm hoping to release more spots after a while. My intention for capping from the beginning was that I didn't want to bite off more than I could chew. I want to make sure for those who were able to sign up that I can, in the same way I run my retail business, I want to be able to service those people as best I can. And I believe, for me anyway, that there is a limitation to how far you can spread yourself before the quality starts to, dwindle or whatever. And so it's important to me, to make sure that, again, I don't play with other people's money. I don't like it when they do it with mine. So you paid for a thing, and I want you to get the full thing. So, yeah, that's huge for me. And then I know I did the best that I could do, and I gave it my all. So I am really stoked for those boxes to start arriving at the very end of the month. I'll start shipping on April 25th, but it's going to take me, a couple days to get through all of them. And I've already started packing a lot of them. I've already got everything here on hand. There was one thing we actually did run out of. It was poor planning on my part. And of course, in the middle of all this tariff stuff, I'm like, hey, I need an emergency order. So that's going to be fun to deal with when it finally gets to customs, and it's been a whirlwind. So, we'll see. We'll see. Like I said, if anything ever goes wrong, I keep all that money in escrow, and it's just sitting there right now. So I don't get to touch any of that money until the goods are delivered. And so for the yearly people, guess what that means? All that money sits there for the 12 months that you paid. Like, that's how this works. Because I didn't earn that money yet. So there's no fear if all of this does turn really sideways. I do have a lot of inventory here in spades, but you always run out of something, and I'm trying my best to pre-portion, pre-plan, pre-do everything, but things happen, and typically that's not such a big deal, but right now the landscape is so crazy and hellacious. It's like, I don't even know. It's just nuts. So, but I'm trying my best, and like I said earlier, I believe that most shops will try their best, but I do believe there will be some out there who are looking to exploit the chaos, so just be really careful. But that being said, I'm really excited about the subscription box. It's been many, many months of me working in the background and not saying anything to anybody, because I truly kind of believe that sometimes when you say something, it changes the energy, and I didn't want that. I wanted everything to be, I wanted it to be as best as it could be. Perfect is not because it's not going to be perfect, I'm sure. But I just really wanted it to be super good. Tina says, I can't wait to get my first box. I am very excited for you, Tina. FYI, Tina, you may or may not know this. You were actually one of the first subscribers, which really, I look at every order regardless of what order it is, whether it's a subscription box or a retailer. I pack them all. If it's not me, it's my assistant, but I'm here all the time. And I look at all of the orders, so I know exactly who's placing them. I get familiar with your guys' names. Sometimes I know exactly, I'm like, oh, she's doing the strawberry festival, like that's why she placed this order. Or, oh, and now I know why she's buying that vinyl, because I, saw that they were going to that concert or whatever. Like, I can't keep track of everything, but I try to. And I see things when you guys, post randomly online somewhere out in the ether that I'll see, like you said, it was your birthday, and then you'll place an order, and I can't catch them all, but I do try to. If I know, I'll tuck extra little goodies into your box, or, a little whatever, just to, if I can, because it's fun. Because I know you guys. At the very beginning of this broadcast, like the first minute, I talked about how kind of weird this is, because I'm talking to a screen right now, but I'm talking to you guys. Like, but I'm also alone in this room. So content creation and being online in this way and all that is really wild. Because then I go out to shows and I see y'all in person, and it's like, oh, your face, like, I missed you. And even in this way, like, sitting here chatting like this, I'm like, oh, I missed you guys. Like, I see all your little comments coming up on the bottom, but I see your orders, and I definitely saw you subscribe, Tina. I was so excited, and I always tell my husband, especially any of y'all who come to the shows, and my husband, you've like met him. I talk to him about you guys all the time. Like, oh, so-and-so placed an order. Like, oh, Christina, she must be doing something interesting because look at this vinyl she got. Or like, oh, this is Tina. Do you remember Tina? She lives over in Louisiana and she drives over sometimes. And, to come see us at shows. And he's always like, yeah, I remember her, So, yeah, I don't know. It's funny. And I told him right when you subscribed, I said, oh, Tina subscribed. I love that. Like, that's so sweet. So, I'm really excited. If memory serves me correctly, and I'm pretty sure it's correct, you are one of our annual blossoms, which, thank you for that. That's kind of my little nomenclatures for all of this. There's going to be all kinds of little corny, goofy garden floral talk in here, just so everybody is aware. I'm definitely tapping into my inner flower gardener persona. Prior to doing all of this sewing stuff, I've always sewn, but I used to be, and still am, but I have less time. I used to be really into gardening, and I still am. Gardening is a big joy of mine, more flowers than food. I didn't do a lot with food, and I probably should start, but I just never could really get into it. But I love flowers and trees, and so that felt like a natural thing to do for the subscription as well. A year in flowers really just felt good to me. It's also, who doesn't like flowers, even if you don't want to carry florals? I'm also really excited for this art because there are so many styles of art in this box. I promise you, especially for my monthly folks, leave if you, come and go if you can. I will tell you this, because of all of this crazy economic stuff, if you are locked in at the $75 a month tier, if you leave and you come back, that might not be the same. I'm desperately trying to keep everything the same. And you will stay the same if you stay, but if you leave and come back, if there are spots open, I don't know if I can keep it that way. I'm really trying to not raise prices in the shop in general, and I don't know what's going to happen. Things are crazy. So that's my little PSA about that. But what I will say is, if you're not crazy about the art that arrives one month, wait till the next month. Because just like a garden, there's always something else blooming. And I promise you, if you're like, oh, I'm not crazy about those colors, all the colors for all the different months, they are vastly different. I chose to not pick, I really tried to go for the not traditional, right? The not expected. It's expected in some ways, but unexpected in others. And the first box, I'm excited about all of them, but it's the first one. So that one is definitely, in my opinion, the boldest art choice, both in color and performativism, just how the art is. And I'm so excited about it. I'm not gonna lie, I'm still second guessing a lot of my choices as I'm going through and pre-making the items before I ever send them to you guys. So if I want to pivot and change something, I can do that. But I'm like, ooh, I don't know if I'm gonna like that. That's a bold choice. I'm so happy with my choices on this. And for those of you who know me, by the way, I'm kind of known for like monochrome. So if I'm making a navy bag, like almost everything on it is like some shade of navy. I tend to go for like, I don't know, less, less, crazy, I guess. Like my comfort zone is pretty limited. And so I not only struck out on my comfort zone a little bit, but I'm trying to get you out of yours. So we're not going to do the same old things here, and we're not going to do the total unexpected, and we're not going to be boring. Like it's gonna be classy, it's gonna be pretty, it's gonna be interesting, it's gonna be graphic, and you know, in the end, I want you to have a real sense of joy. I want you to have a sense of joy opening the box, even to the point that the label on the outside of the box is textured. Like from the minute you touch that box, and by the way, here's a little insider tidbit for all of you. I couldn't find the right size box that I wanted for this subscription for this first month. So I made the boxes. Like they were literally handmade. I had to source big pieces of cardboard, put them on the laser. I custom designed the size of this box to be exact what I wanted. And then I cut them out on the laser. I have to roll the seams on the little edges and then fold the boxes myself. Because I could not find a pre-made, like, available box that worked. And I just refused to have a bad box. So, the labels, all of the printed everything in that box, including your vinyl, but your labels, the stuff inside the box, all the stickers, they are all printed by me here in-house. When I talked about vertical integration earlier, that's a lot of what's going on there. I'm literally putting everything I have into this box. So I'm really, really excited for it, and I wanted everything to be just so, and I'm hoping that I achieved that. So read a couple of these comments. Hi Deanna. I mentioned your name just briefly earlier when I was rattling off names of people that I'm like, oh, when I see people on lives, Deanna. So that was way earlier in the night. Hollow Bag Creation says, above and beyond and pure insanity. Yeah, a little bit. I think it's Tina who usually will say this to me, actually, but a few other people too. And in my followers, subscribers, bag buddies out here in this sphere, they'll say, you don't like sitting still, do you? Which is true. I don't. There's always something to be done. So I like to relax as much as the next guy, but I also don't sit still well. And I want things to be specific. So I tried really hard to not make my own boxes. My husband, who knows my specific brand of insanity, I was like, weeks before I decided on this, I told him I can't find a box, and I don't want, the problem was for the length I needed, the box gets bigger this way and this way, and then what ends up happening is you get a big empty box, and I don't like that. There's a perception issue with that you are perceiving, even though the same contents is in the box. Marketing 101, folks, there's a perception that you're getting less, and I don't want the perceived value to be less than what it is, because I have worked all of this out very specifically. The value is definitely there, and I'm not just saying that because I'm the one selling it. Like, I have spreadsheets. I want to make sure it's fair and specific. So that even happens with the box. I'm like, I can't get what I need, and I looked everywhere for this size box, and it just does not exist. Funnily enough, the one box I was able to find close enough to it still didn't work, and they were really expensive. Was police evidence boxes. Yep, because I needed like a long skinny and only like 2.5 inches and like 8 inches or so. It doesn't exist except these police evidence boxes. And I told Corey, I said, well, I could just print stuff to cover all. It literally has like police evidence, like case number stuff you fill out on it. And I was like, I can't send that out. It's not a year in true crime. It's a year in flowers. But for future boxes, that could be like a really fun mystery box, like a bonus box. I told him, I was like, ooh, what if I did like a murder mystery box or something? How interesting would that be? Like 12 months of like a mystery involved, like with sewing. I don't know. The evidence box made my brain start thinking that. So if we do this again, that might be what it is. Like, I don't know what name I'll call it, but I have been thinking about that ever since then. Like, what if every month you received like more clues and there was like a mystery, like a whodunit or something? I think that would be so fun. So I've been thinking about it, but that's a problem for later me. But I just think that would be so cool. I'm a big murder mystery reader. I'm a murder mystery girly. And I thought to myself, like, how cool would that be? Like, you get little clues, and then other people with other, like other, your fellow detectives or whatever, got, it's like a story that unfolds over 12 months, and then you find out, like, who did it. Like, I don't know, that'd be so cool. And different people get different clues, so then you can, like, exchange info and touch base. I don't know, that could be very interesting. I've thought about it. But anyway, the evidence boxes didn't work out for this one, so I had to make my own box. And Corey was like, I mean, he kept telling me, you're not going to make your own box. You should not make your own box. Don't make your own box. Just buy a box. But I couldn't find anything that was even close to what I needed, and I was getting very frustrated. So just know, I cut that box on the laser, but I custom did the dimensions. I cut it, and folded it, and had to, Corey 3D printed me a little wheel that I used to score all the little lines to then fold the box. So literally could not be more curated. Let's see. Yes, Hollow Bag Creation said it's also a waste of cash when you ship when the box is half empty. 100%. Not only is that just like carbon footprint wasteful too, because it takes up more space on like a truck, on an airplane, whatever. But yeah, and then all the stuff in there knocks around and it destroys itself as it's moving through transit. So I have to pack it with more like paper, and I don't want to do that. So anyway, I'm hopeful. I'm not gonna lie. I'm hopeful that I don't have to do custom boxes every month, because like that's a lot, but I'll do it if I have to. That's the reason there's a cap, because it allows me flexibility to still take care of everybody. That's the thing. So anyway, so the last kind of little bit, I guess, about the shop, like I was saying, is that, you know, it's going to be a weird year. I already know that. Maybe all this stuff will get settled out and whatever. I'm just kind of battening down the hatches, and I'm hunkering in. So I'm not planning on going anywhere. You might see some things kind of go out of stock. I'm not going to push crazy to like have new things and be whatever, but I am, part of me bringing up all this and telling you about all of it in the beginning is that I am trying my darndest to get my studio space back up. And I'm hopeful that you guys become really familiar with this new background from a different angle, because that's what I'm going to be shooting all my stuff in front of. So I'm really excited about that. And I'm excited to do more tutorials. I'm excited to get involved with the Year in Flowers boxes. All of these patterns will already have tutorials available, so you're not waiting on me. They're already there when your box arrives. But I'd love to sit and like sew those items with you guys, with the other blossoms, and you know, we can kind of explore that together. Like, it's a little treat for me to like, oh, look, like I get to do it too. So, you know, that's kind of fun. And so I'm excited to just do more tutorials in general and more sewing content. And I said this at the beginning, but I was like, it was really interesting to hear how many of you guys said that you just missed my videos. You missed the chit chat videos, but you also missed the tutorials, and like encouraging me to film more and do more, because, you know, A, it's always nice to be missed, but B, I just didn't realize that there was like a little, you know, a little void there. So, you know, I don't know. It was like, oh, there's tons of people out there. There's tons of stuff to watch, like whatever. But, I guess some of you guys really missed me, which is nice, because I missed you too. But okay. So in talking about vertical integration, talking about custom printing, I brought these to Lakeland. So if you guys were at the Lakeland show, you already saw these. They have not made it on their way to the website, only because A, I've been busy, and B, these are really hard to photograph. Like, I don't know how to advertise these to sell them. I am gonna have to cut these open, which is some of them. It's clear vinyl. So when I said that I started printing all my vinyls in-house, I print all my vinyls in-house, and that includes clear vinyl, and I am really stoked to be able to offer that. So I now offer 3 bases. Spoiler alert, I don't know when and if it's even gonna pop off. I'm waiting on it to arrive, but I am going to try my hand at printing glow-in-the-dark vinyl as well, so we will see how that works. And if it happens, you'll know, but I'm working on stuff over here, even with all the craziness, but just like all of other vinyls, 18 by 52, it's more like 53 or whatever. And it's clear, there's paper in here so you can see it. I wonder if it'd be better for me to just show it this way. Because when it's clear, I mean, it's clear, you can't see it, but like, look, this is medical supplies. So they're not stacked like this, right? That's like, it's wrapped. So it's totally clear background. So there's like thermometers and gloves and first aid. And again, they're not stacked on one another. Like, maybe I should just cut it open and I can show it to you. It just gets difficult because it's clear. So this is a really nice gauge vinyl. It's a little bit thicker and it doesn't have a lot of stretch. And I really enjoyed, you know, printing on it, and it seems to be performing well. I've sewn a little bit, but not most of these. I didn't get to. So, but it's all the same base. So you can kind of see how clear it is. I love the scale on it. So I do my own tossed files for these, so there's good space between. Because some of these files, there's either too much space, like no man's land, or it's really dense, and then it kind of defeats the purpose of clear vinyl, in my opinion. So I'm really stoked about these. They all have the white on the background, so they show up really nicely, and hopefully will not rub off, because that can happen a lot of times with the clear vinyls if they don't have that white behind it. So I'm really stoked to be printing clear in-house, and honestly, I just need to get it listed. I have, oh gosh, I don't know, 15 or 20 designs, and I'm going to show you some of them that I have left over. And I just need to figure out how to put it on the website. I don't know, when you guys shop for clear vinyl, what like tips you off? I mean, it'll say in the title clear vinyl, but how do you photograph a clear vinyl? You know, I don't know how to, I tried doing it a couple of ways, but it looked really ugly and I wasn't jazzed about it. So if you have any ideas, let me know, because it's clear, so it is like sticky on this wrapper. Okay, so this one, talking about all my flowers, how much I love flowers. Look at this. It's houseplants. Aren't they cute? And it's multi-directional tossed, because I know how much you guys like a multi-directions. I'm trying to do multi-directionals. Isn't that so pretty? And the detail on these is really, really good. It's a really high, you know, I only use high resolution art, so that's kind of facetious to say that, but these just look really, really good. They're kind of like a little bit of a watercolor, but a really crisp art style, if that makes any sense. So that one, what else did I print? Oh, these were cute. I love kawaii stuff. So I found this art from this artist, and I was like, oh, we have to have those. These are so cute. They're little kawaii kitties eating Japanese food and like ramen and sushi and dim sum. They're so cute. And there's a bunch of them on here, and this one again is multi-directional. So like, look at these cute little kitties, pot stickers and soup dumplings and bao buns and sushis and edamames. Oh my gosh, they're so cute. They are so adorable. And then just to show you like the scale of the clearness, you know, I really liked the kawaii kitties. This was one of my favorites to work on. And this art as well is really like very detailed. This one crashed my computer a couple of times. Just because there were so many different designs when I was arranging it and working on it. It was like, oh, okay. And it is high res, so it was like, well, that was a lot. Okay, so I have 4 more to show you, but I have more of these. This one was a request from the group. Shout out if you are this person, because I don't remember who asked for it, but I was specifically asked for rainbow music notes, which is kind of a tall order. I was like, oh, how do I do that? And I don't know very much about musics, like sheet music. So I was like, oh, what do they want? But these came out really good. They were very popular at the show. Hold on a second, I gotta peel it open. Okay. All right, so it's just like little arrangements. I don't know if that's how you say that, but they're like ombre. Aren't those so cool? Love those. And that was a special request, so that'll be on the site as well at some point. And one of the things I will say is I have had some messages with people asking, you know, how is the best way to support the shop given all of this crazy stuff? look, buy what you want. I said this earlier too. I'm not going anywhere, so please don't feel the need to like go crazy and feel like, you know, there's not going to be anything there, or like I'm going to disappear. I don't sell life-saving stuff, okay? Like, it's a want, not a need, so don't go crazy. But any support is appreciated, obviously. Prints. I print in-house, so that is a huge supporter for me, where the money goes directly toward me. It's all vertically integrated, so outside of some very base supply fees, I am, you know, it's all in-house. So supporting by buying prints on either clear, textured, smooth, or if and when I can get the glow in the dark to work, that's an experiment. Then hey man, like let's party, let's do that, because again, all of that kind of stays here, and that's a good thing for the business. I don't have to wait on customs and all kinds of crazy other things for that. It's just something that I'm printing. So that and templates. Laser templates I also do in-house. Those are my own files that I create. They are done on my laser here in-house. So again, barring small supply things for the acrylics, I don't make acrylic. But other than that, that's a really good one as well for support of my shop. So for the people who have asked, I've told them that, but that might be a question other people have. Like, how do I support your shop during this time? Like, if you feel like supporting and there's something you feel like you need to buy and you're like, what do I do? You know, that any support is good, but those are things that are like directly done in-house. So, and in case you didn't know, I'm now a box manufacturer. I'm kidding. I'm not manufacturing boxes for anybody else. Just me. They are time consuming. The money is not worth it on that. So look at this one. This is a little tossed Winnie the Pooh. And he is so cute. I love Winnie the Pooh. Some of you may know this. I collect Winnie the Pooh fabric of all kinds. I'm actually sitting next to a bin in my, it's across the room over there, but I have a whole bin of Winnie the Pooh fabric I've been collecting since I was a teenager. I love, 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 love Winnie the Pooh. So, there's that one. This one is one of two sewing doodles that I cooked up. So this one, it turned out really cute. This is like the dark version, and then I have a different one with different art, but it's similar, and it's all light colors, like what I'm wearing on my shirt, like bright pastel-y kind of things. But this one is like navies, oranges, magenta, red, those kinds of colors. So I got a couple of sewing doodles. So look how fun that is. And again, multi-directional, so can kind of use it all different ways. We've got bolts of fabric and threads, needle and thread buttons, nippers, scissors, spools, sewing machine, which I kind of love that this isn't your typical, it's more like a, you know, semi-industrial or an industrial, depending on how you look at it. So I loved that art. And there's a couple of other things on there, some other fabric bolts and stuff, safety pin. So I love the sewing doodles. I have to be really careful with all this clear vinyl. I always put everything in a bag, but I am sealing up these because, you know, static cling, and I don't want to deliver something that's got like dust and fuzz and whatever on it. Okay, so this is the last one I have here to show you, but I have like 10-ish other designs. They just all sold out. So I really do need to get those listed on this site. I just have no idea how to do that. But anyway, okay, so this one was also a request in my Facebook group, featherweight sewing machines. And so I did the best that I could with that. This art can be a little difficult sometimes, but I think this turned out really good. So I just did a little tossed featherweights. There's like some with fabric, some without fabric, some with like different notions next to it. So I'm really, really stoked about this one, and I like the scale. Right? So the biggest, most popular one from the show, I think, that sold out really quick was Snoopy. That was kind of like a little bit of a sneak attack. I wasn't expecting Snoopy to be so popular. I kind of did Snoopy on a whim, and then I did have some Stitch vinyls, some styles, and those were popular. You know, Stitch is always popular, but sometimes I feel like some of that stuff gets a little outplayed. I had some other Disney ones and stuff, but these were more just kind of fun, different things. So anyway, that's like all the catch up, and then hopefully if we do these a little bit more often, they won't have to be so long, because there was a lot to talk about here. Lots and lots to digest, I hope, for you, but it was nice to chat. It was nice to catch up on things. I feel really bad kind of leaving everybody in the dark a little bit in regards to the IVF stuff. One more quick kind of touch on that, I guess, is in the beginning with this, I expected to be able to talk about it a bit more like regularly, but the problem with this is there's sort of these long periods of time where nothing happens, even when you're in the middle of a cycle. You're just on meds and you're just like living your life, and there's just not anything to talk about, and then either a whole bunch of stuff like happens and then results in nothing, or like nothing happens. And so I'm not sure what I was expecting, but I wasn't expecting it to be what it's been. So I got a lot of people, shows like very trepidatiously, like approaching me like, is it okay to talk about you? Haven't talked about it in months, and I just wanted to ask and let you know I was thinking about you. It's totally fine. It's not you, it's me. It's just been way different than I expected, and I really thought it would be harder. I also thought it would be easier in different ways. And so nothing was what I expected. Everything was very topsy-turvy in regards to that. And I also the other thing, and I have told some of you guys this, is that people get tired of bad news, right? And it sort of turned into this thing where I didn't have good news. And so I felt bad about sharing that, I suppose. I felt like it would come off as, just negative, because it's not positive, really. It could be worse, but it could be a lot better. And so I just felt like, I don't need to be another source of like negativity in someone's life. We have a lot of negative stuff in life in general, and I just didn't want, I don't know, I just thought it would be different. I really did. I thought the cadence and pace of how things happened would be different, so there would be more to talk about. And then by the time I even get to the point of processing it to talk about it, it like has already passed and we're on to the next thing. So I'm just like, oh, okay. And then combine that with the brain fog and the physical and mental and emotional fatigue from all the medication and the actual procedures, and it's just like, it's too much to keep up with. So I don't mind that people ask. I don't mind that you're curious. I feel really bad that I kind of shared about it to begin with, sort of, just because I think people anticipated more of, and then now I'm like, oh, sorry, I don't have anything to give you, or I only have bad news for you. So I do want to try to be more on top of it. Like I said, we'll see what happens with this latest one. It's just a waiting period right now. So hopefully all this major expense worked this last time, because it's already expensive anyway. And I'm just really keeping my fingers crossed. More than that doesn't even begin to cover it. So, but in the meantime, I'm working on all kinds of things to distract myself. Subscription boxes and printing on new bases and offering more bag kits and all the stuff. And now that I started talking about that mystery box again, I'm over here like, ooh, I could plan out. I'm not, but I should probably jot down some ideas about a 2026 mystery box, a true mystery box, because I think that would be really, really fun. I don't know if anybody else thinks that idea is cool, but I do. I don't know what the theme of the bags would be. Maybe we would just have to do like solid colors or something, like Clue fabric. I don't know. I have no clue what the actual bags themselves would be, but it is kind of a fun idea to think about. And once you guys start getting your boxes delivered, I think you'll see some of the extra things I kind of tucked in and did in there. And so you'd see how it'd be easy to do like to tie like a murder mystery, like clues and stuff in there. But anyway, I never don't have a lot of distractions, so I'm able to find some whenever I don't have any. So I'm going to keep working on this. I'm going to hopefully be back to filming soon. I probably wouldn't expect for another month, honestly, at this stage, because there's not even a sewing machine in this room right now. Well, there is in the closet. But like none of my stuff is back in here. It's just piles of stuff, and I'm trying to finish the construction zone here. So, and then I got to organize, and that takes a lot of time. So, and in between all that, I just got to run a business and also try to do IVF treatments and also try to do my normal life stuff like mow the lawn and do the laundry and make meals and keep my house clean. None of which I'm doing a good job on, by the way. Like, I haven't had my hair done in I don't know how long, and I'm not even planning on it. I'm like, you know what? We're just going to go full, like, feral swamp witch at this point. I really am. I'm like, it's fine. Who has aesthetics in this economy? No, thank you. Yeah, at this point, I'm like, I can't afford to do anything except for all this IVF treatment, which is sucking out the literal soul of every bank account and credit card I have. So, we're not really spending extra money on things that we can't afford to spend money on. I bought all this stuff for this last year, so that's the only reason it's even getting done, because I'm like, okay, like, we'll do it. It's just sitting here. We need to get on this. So anyway, I hope the rest of your weekend is good. It's Saturday, so you get Sunday tomorrow, and I get Sunday tomorrow, which I'm just going to spend doing the same stuff. Cleaning, construction, business stuff. And I kind of think that's all I got. I think I answered all the questions and things that popped up here on the bottom. So if there is nothing else, I am going to go figure out what's for dinner. It's 8. We ate a really late lunch. So, I'm going to go figure out, I don't know. I'm thinking it's going to be like, I don't know, something very lazy. Lazy and cheap and moderately healthy. And I bet you I'll only be able to meet 1, maybe 2 of those criteria. So anyway. All right, well, it's good chatting with you all, and I will see you next time. Goodbye.